Chapter 220. While the three marquises were fighting with the Abyss Demon, Chu Tian was already several dozen kilometers away from White Jade City. A wild aura suddenly exploded from White Jade City behind him, like a surging tide that swallowed the area. CSI. The war horse instantly lost control and began to wildly run across the grass. After spending a lot of effort, they finally managed to control the war horse. At the same time, a green pillar of fire shot into the sky from the direction of the city, covering most of the sky in green flames. Countless small meteors fell from the clouds. Even though they were very far away, they could still feel the tremors. The terrifying scene was very spectacular and shocking. Nangong Yun turned around and saw a large demon stone fly into the sky along with the pillar of fire before falling down in a certain direction. She shouted with her mouth wide open, "My God, what is that?" The earth shook again. A large and ancient evil power continued to grow. The three marquises were clearly fighting with an unimaginable monster. It can't be wrong. Chu Tian saw the demon stone fall and the rain of fire, and his eyes flashed with a strange light. He was already certain, this is an elemental abyss demon called Hellfire. It is a low to mid-level demon species in the abyss world. Low to mid-level demon? Yun Yao found it hard to imagine. How can a low to mid-level demon have this kind of strength? The life of the abyss world is not something a small country like this can imagine. Chu Tian paused here. The Hellfire demons have a very long lifespan and grow through devouring and plundering. If it was a Hellfire that had grown for tens of thousands of years, it could easily destroy all of southern Xia. Yun Yao asked, "How strong is this one?" Chu Tian looked in the direction of the city. According to my estimates, it should be less than 1,000 years. Adding in the fact that it forcefully crossed the plane crack, it should be greatly injured. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have a chance to escape. Feng Katie's heart tightened and she couldn't help worrying for her father. Then what should we do? The three marquises definitely can't beat this Hellfire, but they can hold on for a while and consume its strength. We need to hurry. After Chu Tian calmed the war horse down, he immediately headed east. "You guys come with me." They advanced for a few minutes. A small basin appeared in his field of view and a mature and beautiful black-clothed woman had been waiting for a long time. She held several long array flags in her hand and each flag had a source energy array drawn on it. It seemed like some kind of energy was suppressed inside and could be released at any time. "But isn't this Aunt Chin?" Nangong Yun was a little surprised. "Why are you here?" Chu Tian asked, "Have you buried the array flags?" Chen Bingyu nodded. "Everything has been arranged according to your request." Array flags, as the name suggested, were tools used to set up arrays. They would probably only be widely used in the next few thousand years. An array flag was to first seal a source energy array inside the flag. When it was time to use it, one only needed to insert the flag into the ground and release the power sealed in the array flag. The source energy array would be instantly released, saving them the trouble of arranging it at the last minute. Array flags were fast and convenient. They could be casually inserted into the flag and the source energy array would not be restricted by the terrain or environment. However, most array flags and talismans were one-time use items. Chu Tian had made a total of 14 array flags. 4 large array flags were inserted into the 4 corners of the valley and the other 10 small array flags were carried by Chen Bingyu. Chu Tian nodded. "All right, everyone prepare yourselves. We need to go all out. I hope this array will work." Yun Yao was skeptical. The abyss demon is this strong. Can an array have any effect? This array was made with divine blood. Borrowing the power of a spiritual god to suppress the weakened abyss demon, I think it should be more than enough. Chu Tian looked at the sky-shaking city. After the Hellfire fights the three marquises, it will consume a large amount of energy. This will increase our chances of winning. Feng Kaidai asked, "This place is very far from White Jade City. How will we lure the demon over?" "There's no need to worry about that. I've already sent out bait." "Bait?" The three of them realized that the little fox that had been lying on the shoulder of the Chu family and was inseparable from Chu Tian had left at some point. Don't. The Hellfire demon's strength was too terrifying, creating a large hole in the ground with each attack. The three-continent army was completely defeated. Most of the cavalry had lost control and were killed by the demon soldiers and the flame demon. There were a few that were lucky enough to escape the city. While the hellfire demon was chasing the three marquises, it accidentally stepped on an ink-like substance. This ink-like substance instantly crawled over its body like ants, forming tadpole-like runes. The flames on hellfire demon's body dimmed, as if it was being suppressed by a sealing power. Frozen arrow. The golden arrow marquis took this chance to shoot several crystal blue lights that fell onto the hellfire demon's giant body. A large amount of cold air was released along with the ice. The hellfire demon exploded with a roar. The green flames around its body surged and the ice shattered. The black marks were all evaporated, as if it was not affected at all. Its right hand condensed a compressed flame and it threw a giant fireball at the three of them. Hurricane impact. Shin Fengho raised his hands and a strong hurricane was released. The fireball ignited the hurricane and the flames swallowed it. The three marquises were sent flying by the flames and their injuries were becoming more serious. They did not have much spirit energy left. Even if the abyss demon was very weak, it still had strength surpassing the awakened soul realm. Although its attacks were very strong, it still had most of its strength left. It was not something the three marquises could resist. Keep going. Shen Fengho's blue robe was already burnt, his arms were covered in blood, and his hair was scattered. It could be said that he was in an unprecedented sorry state, but he still did not give up. If they could not destroy the demon this time, Southern Xia would not only lose Thunder State, the abyss demon had intelligence. It was cruel, plundering, and killing, which was a large hidden danger. The Western Marquis and the Golden Arrow Marquis could not hold on any longer. Feng Yun, what do you want to do? Shangguan Hong angrily reprimanded. This monster is too strong. Only the three rulers have a chance of winning. Retreat. The Golden Arrow Marquis also wanted to retreat. We can't make unnecessary sacrifices. Shin Fengho expressionlessly said, You leave first, I have to lure it out. After saying this, Shin Fengho flew into the air and sent several wind blades at the hellfire demon. The hellfire demon gave an angry roar. These weak existences were too hateful. Not only did they hinder its recovery, they were like flies that kept harassing it. Were all the existences this stupid? They knew that their attacks could not break its defenses and that it would be useless no matter how hard they tried, but they still kept harassing it. This was simply seeking death. Since you want to die, then I'll help you. As long as I swallow your strength, I will become even stronger. The hellfire demon exploded with an even stronger power, and a torrential storm of attacks came down like raindrops. We can't block it anymore. Retreat. The Western Marquis and the Golden Arrow Marquis decided to retreat. When Shen Fengho flew out of White Jade City, the hellfire demon chased after him. It ignored all obstacles and slammed into the city walls with its burning body. The east wall of White Jade City suddenly collapsed and a large hole was created by the hellfire demon. The hellfire demon was like a piece of paper, not slowing down at all. Its spirit energy was almost used up. Shen Fengho had reached his limit. The hellfire demon was already in front of him. At this critical moment, a gray smoke suddenly appeared in front of him and turned into a cute little white fox. The little white fox jumped onto the hellfire demon's face and took a deep breath at the hellfire. The flames on the hellfire demon's body left its body and was sucked in by the little fox. It's Chutian's fox. Shen Fengho never thought that he would be saved by this little fox. The little white fox was like a perverted demon, suddenly kissing a young girl's face. How could the hellfire demon not be enraged? The hellfire demon spat out green abyss flames from its mouth. The fox's figure flashed and appeared behind the hellfire demon. It sucked in the hellfire demon's breath and the flames on the hellfire demon dissipated a bit. Roar roar. The hellfire demon was completely enraged. It gave up on Shen Fengho and used its entire body to attack the fox. Shen Fengho took this chance to fly away, quickly retreating. He sighed in his heart, I've already reached my limit, it's all up to you now. The hellfire demon's body was covered in flames that were several times stronger than before, turning into a flaming giant. The little fox had no way to stop and immediately wanted to turn around and run. The Hellfire Demon's intelligence was not high, but it knew that the little fox was trying to lure it away. It needed to recover its strength first. It did not have time to waste with this ant. When it was about to return to White Jade City, the little fox chased after it and sucked in another breath. The Hellfire Demon was filled with rage. This creature was not strong, but its ability to absorb energy made the Hellfire Demon's teeth itch with hatred. The little fox's absorption ability was not high, so it couldn't kill the Hellfire Demon with just this method. It was as annoying as a wasp, constantly coming to stab it. It was very annoying. Alright, I'll kill you first. The Hellfire Demon gave up on chasing Shunfengho's group of 3 and chased the little fox all over the mountain. The little fox brought the Hellfire Demon like this, crossing over 2 hills before finally stopping in a small valley. Actually, the little fox's continuous teleportation couldn't be used indefinitely. At this moment, it was already very tired. The Hellfire Demon could feel the little fox quickly becoming weaker. This annoying fellow could die now. The Hellfire Demon took a step forward and was about to stomp the little fox to death. Red beams of light shot out from all 4 directions of the small valley. 4 scarlet red beams shot out and landed on the center of the valley. These were 4 scarlet red arrays that overlapped onto the Hellfire Demon's body. Those scarlet red arrays were like ropes that bound the Hellfire Demon, immediately binding the Hellfire Demon in place. The flames on its body were like a bucket of cold water, instantly extinguishing. What was going on? The Hellfire Demon's body was incomparably heavy. Each movement was like 1,000 tons, even walking became very difficult. This energy was not strong. But it was enough to suppress it, making it unable to resist. These damn beings from other planes. Chapter 221. Thunder State City. Countless citizens had been waiting in fear for a long time, but now they received a piece of news that made them lose their courage. Tragic, tragic. The 3 marquises have been defeated. Thunder State's storm cavalry have been completely wiped out. Thunder State is finished. The demons are about to attack. Everyone run for your lives. Even the Western Marquis successor, the Golden Arrow Marquis successor, the only daughter of Shunfengho, and the geniuses of the 3 states have all been lost. A small group of heavily injured storm cavalry ran back. They were all covered in black smoke and their flesh had been torn apart. It was simply a tragic sight. All of Thunder State City had exploded. The demons are about to attack. Quickly run. Panic spread even faster than the plague. In just a few short hours, the entire Lijo city was filled with fear. Everyone brought their children with them and carried all of their belongings as they scrambled to escape. Thunder State had never seen such a large number of people fleeing before. If everyone left Thunder State City, wouldn't Thunder State City become a dead city? This was the main city of a state. Thunder State City's officials quickly sent soldiers to suppress them. The city gates were sealed, the streets were blocked, and the people within the city were unable to leave. The helpless citizens fell into an even deeper state of fear. Afterwards, the fear gradually turned into anger, and a rarely seen riot occurred within Lijo City. You don't have the ability to protect Thunder State City, yet you won't let us escape. Dying at the hands of the demons is death. Dying at your hands is also death. Why don't we just die? Countless angry citizens attacked the soldiers blocking the road. Thunder State City was instantly turned into a mess. Countless houses were set on fire and the soldiers were surrounded by the citizens, being beaten to death countless times. A girl with 2 braids was separated from her family and was sitting in the middle of the chaotic street crying in panic. Thunder State's calamity, Thunder State's calamity. Who can save Thunder State? An old man looked up at the smoky Thunder State City and gave a few sorrowful cries. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Meng Yingying saved a few children and brought them to her side, but she saw more and more people falling to the ground. She had no way of stopping this and could only stare blankly at the shocking scene in front of her. Why was this happening? How could he lose? That was impossible. Lin Mu and Fong Han hurried over. Second miss, it's dangerous here. Let's retreat. No, Chu Tian hasn't come back yet? Meng Yingying said firmly, there's still hope. The two of them revealed helpless expressions. It wasn't that he didn't trust the boss. The problem was that the three marquises had failed. Thunder State City was in chaos and more people were injured. Shen Fengho, the Four-Direction Marquis and the Golden Arrow Marquis, the three marquises had finally returned. The three of them were in rags and covered in dirt. They looked like beggars and didn't have the elegant demeanor of a marquis. Stop! The Western Marquis flew into a rage. Are you damned mobs rebelling? If we don't kill them, we won't be able to uphold the law. Forget it. The Golden Arrow Marquis helplessly waved his hand. It's not their fault. This Marquis is the protector of Thunder State and cannot protect them. It is my incompetence. The Golden Arrow Marquis directly announced, open the city gates and let the citizens escape. Shen Fengho also gave a heavy sigh. The countless bleeding soldiers were stunned by the Golden Arrow Marquis orders. Where did the invincible Golden Arrow Marquis of the past go? At this moment, there was only a heavily injured old soldier with broken armor and a charred body. If the Marquis was like this, what else could they do? What else could they do? The spears were thrown to the ground. Countless soldiers joined the ranks of the refugees, who wanted to escape from the place they had lived for generations, who was willing to live the life of a refugee. However, Thunder State was no longer safe. Other than escaping, they had no other choice. The three marquises were speechless as they looked at the chaotic Thunder State city. This was the first time they felt how small their strength was. Feichen did not come back. He most likely lost his way in the chaos. The Western Marquis knit his brows. Damn. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have come to Thunder State. Shen Fengho looked into the distance. Although it was not possible, he really hoped that this youth could create another miracle. Thunder State was one of the 8 states of the southern summer country. With the loss of Thunder State, the country's strength had been greatly reduced. Southern Xia was constantly threatened by the spirit beasts from the north and was already in a dangerous situation, so how could they withstand such a large blow? No one knew. The main culprit of this disaster was already trapped in a small valley. The Hellfire Demon was born in the Abyss world, a chaotic space without any civilization. Killing and plundering were the only laws. When had it ever seen the methods of a life form from another world? Chu Tian, Yun Yao, Feng Kaidai, and Nangong Yun each occupied a corner of the valley. Each person held an array flag. The flags projected a large array, imprinting it on the Hellfire Demon's body. This array was drawn with diluted divine blood, so although the array itself was not strong, it contained a weak spiritual god's power. The Hellfire Demon was suppressed by this power. It did not know how to deal with it, but its intuition told it that if it did not escape, it would be in great danger. Roar! The Hellfire Demon felt a strong sense of unease as it suddenly took a step forward. The Hellfire Demon was too strong and Nangong Yun and the others felt a strong pulling force that could forcefully pull the array flag from their hands. Hold on tight. We can't let go. Otherwise we're dead. Chu Tian's feet were embedded in the ground as he grit his teeth and tightly held onto the array flag. The other 3 were bitterly resisting the Hellfire Demon, using all their strength. The Hellfire Demon had used too much of its strength to fight the 3 marquises and chase after the little fox, so it was hard for it to escape from the array. The Hellfire Demon gave a loud roar into the sky. Several green flame demons wandering nearby were summoned and immediately floated over to the valley. These green flame demons had battle strength close to the illustrious soul realm, so they could not be underestimated. Don't be affected. Chu Tian loudly shouted, this fellow is almost out of strength, we'll hold on for a bit longer. When the green flame demons were about to reach the valley, the little white fox charged in front of them and sucked away a large amount of energy from their bodies. Following that, a black figure fell from the sky along with thousands of snowflakes. The green flame demons were hit by the countless snowflakes and were immediately destroyed. The Hellfire Demon struggled several times, but it failed each time. Its strength became weaker and weaker. It's about time. Chu Tian ordered, Chen Bing, you go. Chen Bingyu immediately took out a small flag and jumped into the valley. The Hellfire Demon sent a fist at her, but its speed and power had been greatly reduced. Chen Bingyu easily dodged the attack and circled behind the Hellfire Demon. She jumped up and stabbed the flag into the ground. The flames on the Hellfire Demon's back were extinguished. With the small flag as the center, countless blood-red strands of energy instantly covered half of its back. It was like a mountain was pressing down on it. The Hellfire Demon's giant body fell to the ground and it struggled several times, but it couldn't stand up. Chen Bingyu took out a second small flag and was prepared to attack again. Who would have thought that the Hellfire Demon's head would suddenly turn 180 degrees and the green flames turned into a fire arrow that shot at her? Chu Tun was shocked. Be careful. The gray fog appeared. The little fox teleported in front of Chen Bingyu and swallowed the flames into its stomach. This time it became strong and its little belly became round. Good job. Chu Tian quickly ordered, stab into its knee. An array flag was stabbed into the Hellfire Demon's knee. Suddenly, a large amount of blood-red energy covered its right leg. The Hellfire Demon kneeled on the ground, as if it couldn't stand up. The four of them felt relieved. The Hellfire Demon didn't have the strength to continue resisting the array. Shoulder. Chen Bingyu stabbed a flag into her right shoulder and a large amount of blood-red energy wrapped around her arm, making her arm lose its strength. Every flag had its own array formation. These arrays were made with the power of a spiritual god. The Hellfire Demon's power was suppressed and it couldn't resist anymore. Not to mention this Hellfire Demon that wasn't strong, even if it was a 10,000-year-old Hellfire Demon or a 100,000-year-old Hellfire Demon, it was no different from an ant in front of a spiritual god. It can't hold on. Let's work harder. Under Chu Tian's orders, several array flags were inserted into the Hellfire Demon's body. The Hellfire Demon's body was covered in blood-red veins and it had completely lost its demon power. There was only a dark green shell that was releasing smoke, but it couldn't even burn a trace of green abyss flames. Ice Soul Palm. Chen Bingyu sent out a palm. The dark green shell did not move at all. This thing was very sturdy. Chu Tian shouted, "You can't break this shell, so don't worry about its shell. The Hellfire Demon has a demon heart inside its body. It's the demon's lifeline. Destroy it." Chen Bingyu looked through the dark green shell. In the center of the Hellfire Demon's body, there was a heart beating in a certain rhythm, slowly sending energy to its body. "Don't kill me." The Hellfire Demon released a spiritual wave. "I'll be your servant." Nangong Yun and Feng Kaidai were shocked. With the Hellfire Demon's strength, if it recovered its peak strength, it would be above the three rulers. If it could be used by humans, it would be a strong helper. "You think I'll believe an abyss demon?" Chu Tian gave a cold laugh, not moving at all. "Do it?" Chen Bingyu released a large amount of snowflake source spirit, condensing it into an incomparably large icicle that pierced through the demon's heart filled with life energy. "No!" The Hellfire Demon gave a pitiful cry. The rock shell began to collapse like a building block losing its support, instantly turning into a pile of rubble. This incomparably hard-to-deal-with monster that even the three marquises couldn't deal with had died under Chu Tian's array. Although they had killed the Hellfire Demon, the four of them were exhausted. Even Chen Bingyu had used up all of her spirit energy, losing all of her battle strength. "It's dead. We've won. We've actually won. Father would be proud of us if he knew." Nangong Yun, Feng Kaidai, and Yun Yao excitedly cheered. Although it was only a support, the incomparably strong Hellfire Demon had been killed by their hands. No matter who it was, they would be incomparably proud. The little fox licked its claws and shook its furry tail. Its two sparkling eyes stared at the Hellfire Demon's corpse. Its eyes suddenly flashed. The little fox spat out a small wooden man and used its two little claws to hold the wooden man. It jumped onto the Hellfire Demon's corpse and forcefully shook the wooden man. A purple thing floated out of the Hellfire Demon's body. Nangong Yun asked in a surprised voice, "What is this little thing doing?" Chapter 222. Soul Puppet? Chu Tian recognized the thing in the little fox's hand. This was a very precious treasure that could replace a physical body and become a vessel for a soul. After the little fox used the soul puppet to absorb the hellfire demon's soul, the normal soul puppet had turned into a miniature version of the hellfire. The little fox gently blew on the puppet. The hellfire's soul was thrown out and there was a flash of light as it landed on the ground. It suddenly turned into a physical form and a miniature version of the hellfire appeared in front of them. This summoned hellfire was around 20 feet tall, which was around a third of the size of the hellfire that was killed. Its strength was far from the original, but from the aura it released it was quite strong. It could even fight against the Southern Summer 8 Marquises. The most important thing was that this hellfire did not have a mind. It was completely controlled by the little fox. Feng Kaidai, Nangong Yun, and Yun Yao were shocked. What kind of technique was this? It actually used the hellfire's soul to summon a new hellfire. The little fox cheered in excitement. It loudly chirped in excitement. The hellfire turned into a puppet and returned to the little fox's hand. It quickly swallowed it, as if it was afraid that someone would steal its treasure. Chu Tian rubbed his chin. This was a bit like the ancient demonic race's demonic technique. This little fox had followed father for so long, did it finally awaken a bit of skill? Chu Tian asked, "You hid it from me in the trial tower just to exchange for this puppet?" The little fox proudly nodded, looking like it was the strongest. "Then why didn't you tell me earlier?" Chu Tian slammed his head down. "Do you think I would steal this broken thing from you?" The little fox revealed a look of disdain as it rubbed its head. Who knew? Actually, as the little fox grew up, it had slowly awakened some abilities in its memories, but it wasn't sure if it would be useful or not. The little fox had exchanged the soul puppet for an experiment, but it never thought it would be this easy to use. After obtaining the summoning ability, its battle strength had increased by a large amount. It could finally be a fox with its chest out. Chu Tian continued to say, "A soul summoning technique? This seems like a demonic race technique. I never thought that this fellow would have a bit of skill after evolving. Since that was the case, why did he put away the hellfire? It's so cool to release this thing." The little fox waved a few times. The little fox's magic was limited. The soul puppet was a top-grade soul storage tool. However, it was best to extract the soul while the hellfire was still alive. This way, the soul would be fresh and energetic, and it could be used for a long time. When hellfire was killed, his soul was already in a state of dissipation. Even if the little fox was sucked in by the soul puppet, even if it couldn't be used, it could only last for 2 months. Every time it was summoned, it would weaken even faster. Once the soul was exhausted, it would be useless. The little fox could summon hellfire 3-4 times at most. Because it had only used it once in a short test, it only had 3 chances left. Other than that, maintaining the hellfire consumed a lot of the little fox's energy. How much would it need to eat to make up for it? So unless it was absolutely necessary, the little fox was not willing to use it. The price of this soul puppet was definitely not cheap, but from the looks of it, the little fox was quite reliable. At least with the soul puppet and the hellflame soul, it could release the battle strength of the 9th awakened soul layer. "I won't bicker with you about the trial tower," Chu Tian fiercely said to the little fox. "There won't be a next time." The little fox obediently nodded. Who knew what it was thinking in its heart? Nangong Yun stared at the stones on the ground and said, "What do we do with these remains?" "Nonsense. These are precious materials from the abyss that have been burned by the abyss flame for thousands of years without being damaged. Of course we have to bring them back." Everyone agreed on this point. How strong was Chen Bingyu? Chen Bingyu's full-strength palm could not damage it at all. From this, it could be seen how strong the hellfire demon's outer shell was. Other than that, this stone could cross spatial barriers without being destroyed and it could be burned by the abyss flame all year round. This was enough to show its high temperature resistance and high strength. "These stones are just free gifts," Chu Tian mysteriously said. "The reason I didn't hesitate to come to Thunder State was mainly because of this hellfire demon." The hellfire demon was not a rare demon in the abyss world. There were countless demons that were stronger and more terrifying than it in the abyss world. However, the abyss world was a space that could not be explored by the beings of this era, so the beings of the abyss could only come by luck. This hellfire demon's value was naturally very precious. The Hellfire Demon could bring Chu Tian some abyss materials, but the things that interested Chu Tian the most were the abyss flame and the demon's heart. The abyss world's environment was very special. The abyss was a chaotic world. It had the characteristics of when all living things were born. In the abyss world's environment, there would often be natural treasures. There were even many beings that were born naturally and not born from their mothers. The Hellfire Demon was a very common innate being. This being did not have the ability to reproduce and could not split like the elemental race. They were born from a dense abyss aura condensing to a certain degree and a special opportunity to create a fire seed. The innate fire seed contained a strong abyss aura and finally began to have its own thoughts. It began to wander the abyss world, and through swallowing energy ores, it continued to grow, turning into a flaming meteor that roamed the abyss world. When the Hellfire Demon was killed, its thoughts and power would quickly disappear, but the fire seed would stubbornly survive. After a few years, it would form another Hellfire Demon. As for the demon's heart, it was the abyss demon's lifeline. The environment of the abyss was very harsh. If demons wanted to survive and reproduce in such an environment, they had to desperately reduce their weaknesses. The vast majority of abyss demons were very difficult to kill. Breaking their arms, legs, beheading, or even dismembering them into pieces was very difficult to effectively kill. The reason was very simple. Abyssals also had a special ability. They could condense their life force into a life core. All of their life force, soul, and spirit were gathered in this core. As long as the core wasn't destroyed, they could regrow a hand or a leg. Even if they were beheaded, they wouldn't die. This core was the demon's heart. When Chu Tian placed the inkstone fragments into the gourd, he found 4-5 pieces of the demon's heart. Chu Tian revealed a look of joy. This demon was not strong, but for Chu Tian at this stage, it was very useful. In addition, he also found a fist-sized green crystal that looked like amber. This was not a crystal stone, but rather a dense flame. This was the source of the Hellfire Demon's power, the fire seed. This abyss fire seed was very strong and had a very dense abyss energy. The most important thing was that the abyss hellfire's nature was very suitable for Chu Tian to cultivate the netherworld flame sword. If he could swallow this flame, his sword art would reach the large success realm. Actually, when Shen Fengho had explained the situation in Thunder State, Chu Tian had already guessed the identity of the abyss demon. This fire seed was one of the main reasons why Chu Tian did not hesitate to take the risk to participate in this mission. This netherworld flame sword he obtained from the 10,000 Corpse ancient tomb was an ancient sword art recorded in the netherworld sword. It was a remnant of an ancient sword art, but it was a very powerful sword art. During the cultivation process, Chu Tian had continuously improved it, and now it was several times stronger than the original sword art. This netherworld flame sword was a bit similar to the Starlight Immortal Body. If he had enough materials, he could learn it quickly, but the materials were very hard to find. Chu Tian had finally found this chance. How could he be willing to give it up? This risk was worth it. Help me look around. Chu Tian pulled out the netherworld sword. I want to absorb this fire seed now. The Hellfire Demon was already dead and the fire seed was quickly weakening. Chu Tian did not have time to bring the fire seed back to refine, so he directly refined it on the spot. Chu Tian placed the fire seed on the ground and looked at the ice blue blade. The abyss flame's quality is not inferior to the netherworld ghost flame, it's even higher. Now let's see if you can take it or not. After saying this, Chu Tian stabbed the sword into the fire seed. A final cry came from the fire seed as the Hellfire Demon's last hope of revival was shattered. A strong energy was released and instantly swept in all directions. The green flame was absorbed from the fire seed and slowly flowed along the blade. Chu Tian could clearly feel the netherworld sword's excitement and nervousness. It was excited because this energy was too delicious. If it could swallow this energy, the netherworld sword would be able to recover most of its power and return to the level of a soul-contracting weapon. The reason it was nervous was because this energy was not inferior to it. If it could not defeat the abyss flame, it would burn itself in the end. A blue and white flame was released. The two flames interweaved, pulling and swallowing each other, creating a very intense battle. In terms of quality, the Abyss Flame was not inferior to the Netherworld Flame. The Netherworld Ghost Flame had its own consciousness, so it could become the Netherworld Sword's weapon spirit. The Abyss Flame also had its own consciousness, so it could evolve into a strong Abyss Demon. Without a doubt, the Abyss Flame could exist on its own and could even cultivate into a demon. In terms of potential, it was stronger than the Netherworld Ghost Flame. But the Abyss Flame was in a weakened state and the Netherworld Flame had the home field advantage, so it gradually suppressed the Green Flame and gained the upper hand. The Abyss Flame was slowly absorbed by the Netherworld Sword. However, although the Abyss Flame had a slim chance of winning, it did not give up. While the Netherworld Flame was absorbing the Abyss Flame, it was gradually affected by the Abyss Aura and began to change in nature. The Netherworld Sword continued to tremble. After that, there was a strong energy that entered Chu Tian's body. When the Abyss Demon was absorbed by the Netherworld Sword, it produced a strong spiritual energy that was sent into Chu Tian's body. Chu Tian could clearly feel that this energy was very strong. It was even enough for Chu Tian to break through his bottleneck. Chu Tian revealed a look of joy. This spiritual energy was very pure and it was enough for him to break through to the fourth awakened soul layer. This was natural. The Abyss Demon was very strong, so after Chu Tian absorbed its energy, breaking through a small bottleneck was not a problem at all. Chapter 223. With this large amount of spiritual energy accumulating in his body, Chu Tian could clearly feel that he was just one step away from breaking through the bottleneck. But in the wilderness, it was not a suitable place to break through. Chu Tian used a secret technique to seal the spiritual energy in his body. Since this energy could not run away, why was he in a rush? He pulled out the sword and the fire seed shattered, turning it into a piece of ordinary stone. The Netherworld sword that was like 10,000-year-old ice was as smooth and cold as a mirror, but there was a faint layer of black chi around it that made the air slightly distort. This was the aura of the Abyss. When the sword absorbed the Abyss fire seed, not only did it recover its strength, its quality also seemed to change. When Chu Tian activated the sword art, a flame was released from the blade. The flame was still blue, but the color was even brighter. It was as thick as a flawless blue crystal. The blue burning sword chi shot out. A giant rock in front of him was split in half. The two giant rocks had blue flames that quickly grew. As it grew, the giant rock was swallowed by the flames and slowly turned to ashes. Finally, the entire giant rock was burnt to ashes. So powerful! Although the Netherworld flame had been nurtured in the Ghost King's body for countless years, so it had the ability to corrode materials, it did not have the ability to burn materials. Now it had completely changed. The flame was still a cold flame, it had almost no temperature, but it could still decompose materials, creating a stronger effect. If the previous Netherworld sword could be said to be a defensive cultivation technique. But the current Netherworld sword, not only could it ignite and burn spirit energy, once it touched a material, it could also continuously cause damage. It was the nemesis of defensive equipment and weapons. Without a doubt, Chu Tian's sword was even stronger. The Abyss Green Flame's tearing effect and the Netherworld Ghost Flame's burning effect were both completely preserved, forming a new Abyss Netherworld Flame. Even Nangong Yun, who cultivated the Starlight Immortal body, found it hard to block the Netherworld sword's attack. Of course, it wasn't just that. The Netherworld sword's weapon spirit had basically recovered. The weapon spirit had its own consciousness and normal weapon spirits were refined from demon beast souls. The weapon spirit could increase the power of the weapon and could also protect the weapon. The Netherworld sword's weapon spirit was an innate spirit flame. In a sense, it was a complete elemental life form and not just a spirit body. Since it was a complete life form, it might be able to leave the weapon. Chu Tian thought of a secret summoning technique he had cultivated in the past. Why not give it a try? Elemental energy flowed endlessly into the sword, and a blue crystal-clear flame quickly flowed out. It was like a raging river that gathered in front of him. When the large amount of flame gathered together, it actually gradually formed the shape of a human body. It's the fire demon! Nangong Yun and the others cried out in surprise. The image of this blue flame was exactly the same as the little demon summoned by the Hellfire demon. The only difference was that the flame demon released by the sword flame was blue and the flames that formed its body were different from the green flame demon. The little fox jumped in fright. Was he teasing this fox? This fox's sense of superiority had only formed a few minutes ago. How did Master learn how to summon as well? Master is so abnormal, how can this fox live? Nangong Yun was even more surprised and asked, how can you summon monsters? Strictly speaking, this is not a summoning. The little fox's summoning only needed a soul and it could create something from nothing. This kind of ability was very rare and difficult. It was the technique of the ancient demonic races. Chu Tian's situation was different. Chu Tian did not have the ability to create something from nothing and the abyss netherworld flame had a consciousness, but it did not have the ability to create a body. Chu Tian had used an elemental transformation technique to help it, so he could summon this flame demon in front of him. The flame demon's body was not very stable. It looked like a fierce-looking man, with its body covered in blue flames. There was a pair of horns on its head and its body was covered in a demonic aura, just like an abyss demon. When the flame demon appeared, it first looked around in confusion. Then it walked in front of Chu Tian and released a spiritual wave. My lord has released me. It can speak. It can speak. How can it speak? Everyone, including the little fox, was shocked. This demon created from flames could actually speak to people? Of course, elemental beings did not have organs, so they could not speak with their mouths. Rather, they used their spiritual energy to transmit their thoughts. Not bad. Chu Tian nodded in satisfaction. From today onwards, you will be called Netherworld. The flame demon Netherworld respectfully said, Yes, my lord. Chu Tian raised his sword and said, Come back. The blue flame demon disintegrated and instantly returned to the Netherworld sword. Netherworld strength was at the 4th to 5th awakened soul layer. Other than its own strength, it was also directly related to Chu Tian. Because Netherworld wanted to appear in his demon form, he needed Chu Tian to use his secret technique. This adventure had ended. The Netherworld flame sword had reached the large success realm, his cultivation base had increased by a large amount, and he had gained a powerful helper. Netherworld's intelligence was not high, so it was a bit slow. However, not having a high intelligence had its own benefits. If his helper was as smart as the little fox, then Chu Tian would really want to cry. This Netherworld had a lot of room to grow and had a very high research value. In the future, it could leave the Netherworld sword and become an independent existence. Not bad, this harvest is very big. Of course your harvest is big, but we also put in quite a bit of effort. Nangong Yun seized the chance to jeer, How are you going to reward us? Reward? Of course I have to reward you. And I have to reward you. Chu Tian was in a very good mood at this moment. What do you want? Just tell me and I'll do my best to satisfy you. Nangong Yun scratched her head. Big sister Yun Yao, Kadai Aunt Chin, what do you want? The three of them had never thought of this problem before, so they helplessly shook their heads. Feng Kaidai righteously said, Getting rid of the great demon is our duty. We will be heavily rewarded by the calm martial ruler when we return, so how can we ask the great contributor Brother Chu for a reward? What was called quality? Young Miss Feng was truly a well-educated beauty. She was not like that crazy girl Nangong Yun. But Chu Tian was a righteous person, so of course he would not let them suffer a loss. So he heroically said, You three are my people. So I'll give you a cultivation technique specially used by my people, Starlight Immortal Body. Are you satisfied? Starlight Immortal Body. Yun Yao and Feng Kaidai were stunned. Chen Bingyu's eyes opened wide. This serious beauty was so excited that she almost jumped up. She immediately grabbed onto Chu Tian's clothes. I'll practice it. Chen Bingyu was a martial arts fanatic. Although she had been drooling over the Starlight Immortal Body for a long time, she was just too embarrassed to say it. Chu Tian took this chance to touch Chen Bingyu's smooth and cold little hand. Beauty Chen, don't be so excited. With so many people watching, wouldn't it be bad? Those that don't know would think that you're trying to steal a handsome man in broad daylight. Chen Bingyu's face turned red and she quickly let go. I'm sorry. Relax, I'll give you a copy when I get back. Yun Yao and Feng Kaidai were also very excited. This starlight immortal body already had a certain reputation in Central State. It was the best defensive cultivation technique in Central State and even Southern Xia. Nangong Yun stared at him and said, "What about me? I don't know what you need?" Chu Tian was a bit embarrassed. He casually said, "If there's no other way, then I'll just have to lower myself and give you my young man's body." Nangong Yun's face turned red. "Who cares about you?" Chu Tian said, "Then how about I help you learn the great Nirvana scripture?" Deal. Nangong Yun and Chu Tian reached an agreement. They really couldn't do anything to this crazy girl. Chu Tian was prepared to leave, but there was the sound of cavalry coming from the side of the mountain. About 200 to 300 storm cavalry quickly came over with Shengguan Feichin leading them. "Good Chu Tian. You actually dare become a deserter." Shengguan Feichin hadn't even arrived yet, but his sharp voice had already been heard. Yun Yao laughed and said, "What a joke. Don't you have eyes?" Chu Tian killed the demon. There were large amounts of green flames left in the little valley, but there were no signs of an intense battle. Even the stone on the hellfire had been taken away by Chu Tian. Just based on Yun Yao's words, Shengguan Feichin would believe her? Chu Tian could defeat the demon? This was simply nonsense. Shengguan Feichin said with a cold smile, "Not only did you become deserters, you even dare make such a ridiculous excuse. This is simply unforgivable." Nangong Yun angrily shouted, "Do your eyes grow on your ass? Chu Tian killed the abyss demon and saved your father's life, yet you still dare to keep barking. Did you hear that?" Shengguan Feichin did not believe that these people could deal with the monster. He turned to the other cavalry and shouted, "These people are deserters and even made up a ridiculous excuse. We can't let them go today. Listen to my orders, capture the deserters and execute the leader, Chu Tian." Why did these people leave the battlefield? Shengguan Feichin did not care. This was a good chance. Nangong Yun was from the Nangong family. Although she was a branch family member, he still had to give her a bit of face. Feng Kaidai was Shun Fengho's daughter, so he could not easily move against her. Yun Yao was from a large Central State family and the Yun sect had a good reputation in Southern Xia, so he could let her go. Only Chu Tian had to be killed. This fellow had caused him to lose 2 of his arms and had caused the Shengguan family to lose face. That black-clothed girl. Strange, why hadn't he seen her before? No matter what, he would just kill her at the same time. When Shengguan Feichin was about to charge forward with his cavalry, shwa! A snowflake landed on Shengguan Feichin's warhorse, instantly turning it into an ice sculpture. It exploded into pieces of flesh and Shengguan Feichin was caught off guard and fell to the ground. Shengguan Feichin never would have thought that this black-clothed girl would have this kind of strength. Chen Bingyu's hands gently moved and countless snowflakes fell down. A killing intent filled the world. She was about to start a massacre. With Chen Bingyu's true soul realm strength. If the cavalry had charged at her from the start, perhaps they would have been able to threaten Chen Bingyu, but now they could not deal with her at all. Just Chen Bingyu alone was enough to wipe them all out. Shengguan Feichin said in a shocked voice, "Chu Tian, you dare send people to kill the kingdom's army? Do you want to commit treason? A deserter? A traitor?" This fellow really knew how to take the blame. Chapter 224. Chen Bingyu normally did not make a sound. She was an aloof ice beauty, but her temper was even worse than Nangong Yun's. Moreover, she could kill without batting an eye, so once she made a move, she would start a massacre. Chu Tian stopped him. "Stop." It was fine if Shengguan Feichin wanted to die, but he couldn't let the innocent cavalry die with him. Chu Tian always had his own principles. If he didn't want to kill someone, he wouldn't kill them. "You've caused trouble for me over and over again, but it's understandable." Chu Tian had a helpless expression as he said to Shengguan Feichin, "Who told me to be more handsome than you, have more talent than you, have more money than you, and even have more luck with women than you? If the 2 of us switched places, I think I would also want to kill you out of jealousy." Nangong Yun was speechless. This fellow's narcissism couldn't be cured. Shengguan Feichin's face turned livid. Do you think that with the protection of a true soul realm expert, you can live in peace in southern Xia? A true soul realm expert doesn't count for anything in the Shangguan family. He was using the family to threaten father again. This grandson only had this bit of skill. You're not convinced? Good. I'll give you a chance, we'll fight one-on-one. Chu Tian's words shocked everyone. I'll let everyone see what skills the Western Marquis successor has. A person at the peak of the triple awakened soul realm. He was going to challenge an expert at the fifth awakened soul layer. This fifth awakened soul layer expert was not a normal person, he was the Western Marquis successor. Not only were the people beside Chu Tian stunned, the several hundred cavalry were also deeply shocked. Chu Tian was using a trivial triple awakened soul realm cultivation to challenge Shangguan Feichen at the fifth awakened soul layer. Was there a chance of victory? The difference in strength was not a small one. Southern Xia's title was hereditary. The person who inherited the Marquis title had to be at least 30 years old and have a cultivation in the true soul realm. Shangguan Feichen was the noble Western Marquis successor and had been trained by the Western Marquis since he was young. Although he was only 25 or 26 years old, his strength surpassed the Western Marquis of the past, so inheriting the Western Marquis title was already in the bag. What was Chu Tian? Even if a person who was born as a wild cultivator had a few opportunities, how could he be a match for the prince? Nangong Yun had fought Shangguan Feichen once, and she could feel the Western Marquis successor's strength. With her fourth awakened soul layer immortal body, she could only block Shangguan Feichen's strength. No matter how strong Chu Tian was, he was only at the peak of the triple awakened soul. In terms of defense, he definitely could not compare to Nangong Yun. Could he really block Shangguan Feichen's strength? Shangguan Feichen was stunned. Chu Tian clearly had the upper hand, but he still made such a decision. But wasn't this exactly what he wanted? So be it. All of you back off. Chu Tian said to Qin Bingyu, no one is allowed to interfere. Do you hear me? Everyone knew about Chu Tian's character. The girls had no choice but to retreat. I really don't know whether to call you stupid or ignorant. Shangguan Feichen held a large pen and said with a cold smile on his face, do you really think that you can fight against me just because you defeated Wei Long and Wu Yang? Those who overestimate themselves will not have a good ending. These words are more suitable for you. Chu Tian slowly raised the netherworld sword and a crystal blue flame was slowly released from the blade. Those who overestimate themselves will not have a good ending. What a joke! I am the Western Marquis successor, a wild monkey that came from who knows where dares to challenge me? Shangguan Feichen felt deeply insulted. I want you to die. The giant pen waved. Wind-killing array. The giant brush sprinkled out countless drops of spirit ink, which fell around Chu Tian like raindrops. They connected with each other and formed a large formation in the blink of an eye. In an instant, Chu Tian was trapped in the center, and the power of wind bound him to the ground. Dozens of green wind blades slashed over at an extremely fast speed. The netherworld sword's power was released, breaking through the binding. Chu Tian instantly disappeared and a sharp sword glow tore through the array, stabbing at Shangguan Feichen. What kind of power was this? It was actually breaking through the array. Shangguan Feichen quickly blocked it with his pen and blue sparks flew. Chu Tian attacked from another direction and Shangguan Feichen casually swept out, blocking the sword glow. Chu Tian's attacks were all to no avail. Your sword art is only SOS. Your speed is alright, but it's too weak. Shangguan Feichen's pen suddenly stabbed out, accurately hitting Chu Tian's blade. He forced Chu Tian out and pushed him back several meters. The blade continued to tremble, clearly being hit by a strong force. The Western Marquis successor really did have some skills. Chu Tian had easily broken through his array. He had easily broken through Chu Tian's sword art. I want to know, after losing the sword in your hand, can you still use this kind of attack? Shangguan Feichen said with a face of ridicule, take a look at your weapon. The netherworld sword was as smooth as crystal, but it was covered in a layer of black energy. It was like a large amount of ink, and the energy continued to change into small tadpole-like runes, instantly forming a large sealing power. Chu Tian's hand sank. The netherworld sword instantly became 1,000 times heavier and he almost couldn't lift it up. How is it? Your sword has already been crippled. Shangguan Feichen said in a proud voice, this attack will cripple your sword and the next attack will cripple you. It's just a small trick. Chu Tian released the abyss netherworld flame and instantly melted the seal on the blade. Shangguan Feichen was shocked. It seems like you can't seal my sword. Chu Tian easily raised the sword and said to Shangguan Feichen, take a look at your weapon. Shangguan Feichen was stunned. He looked down and his face fell. That hard-as-diamond pen actually had cracks on it and there was a small flame left on it. What? This pen was a top-grade soul weapon and it was actually damaged by Chu Tian. Damn. Shangguan Feichen flew into a rage out of shame. The pen danced in the air and with a thrust of the pen, spirit ink flew out. Each drop turned into a seal that covered an area of 30 meters, finally forming a giant source energy array. The entire ground caved in from this giant force. Gravity seal. Chu Tian's body sank down like a small mountain was pressing down on him. Shangguan Feichen waved the pen again and a large amount of ink exploded. The dense amount of ink shot out and most of them turned into seals that howled out. Each seal contained a strong destructive might. The demon god's sword source spirit was released. The netherworld sword glowed brightly. Chu Tian slashed out with a powerful sword chi, burning away all the seals that came at him. Finally it turned into drops of ink that fell to the ground. These spirit inks did not disappear, but they began to flow together, turning into an incomparably large array. Ink shadow steps. Shangguan Feichen's speed reached its peak. Each time his foot touched the ground, he would land on a spot of ink. This was an exquisite movement technique that combined the user with the spirit array. Shangguan Feichen could instantly teleport to any spot of ink. His speed was very fast and it was hard to catch, so he could instantly release a storm of attacks. He did not believe that Chu Tian could defend multiple spots at once. He had some skill. But to Chu Tian, this kind of technique was just child's play. Chu Tian's demon god sword source spirit released a strong energy and the netherworld sword was inserted into the ground. A pillar of flame was released and the spirit ink on the ground was instantly evaporated. At the same time, a raging flame slashed at Shangguan Feichen. Ding! Shangguan Feichen was sent flying. That top-grade soul tool level long brush was actually directly cut into two. Everyone was stunned. A single slash had cut the Western Marquis successor's weapon. Did that weapon really reach the level of a soul-contracting weapon? Don't think that you can beat me with a good sword. I will let you understand that the difference in cultivation cannot be made up for with a single weapon. Shangguan Feichen let out a furious roar and spirit energy surged out of his body, turning into a giant wave of spirit ink that surged into the sky like a giant wave, crashing down with an aura that seemed to be able to devour everything. Chu Tian raised his long sword high up. The flames from all directions were all gathered in the air, condensing on the tip of the sword. It formed a giant fireball that released a dazzling light like the sun. Shangguan Feichen stepped on the wave, leaving arrays and runes everywhere he went. Chu Tian's sword slashed out and a blue ball of flames appeared. It instantly grew and turned into a giant ball of flames that slammed into the black wave of ink. Like water and fire colliding, they were in a deadlock for a while. Shangguan Feichen loudly roared, "I've won!" His confidence was justified. Chu Tian's attack was very strong, but it had almost used up all of Chu Tian's spirit energy. Shangguan Feichen had a deep cultivation base, so he still had most of his spirit energy left. Even if they were evenly matched, he still had a complete battle strength. So what if Chu Tian could resist for a short while? The final victor would still belong to Shangguan Feichen. When Shangguan Feichen thought that victory was in his grasp, an unexpected scene occurred. When the wave of ink and the fireball met, it was not a smile like he imagined, but rather a relationship of strength. The fireball contained a strong tearing force. No matter how many runes Shangguan Feichen condensed, the fireball would break them down and burn them, using them as fuel to strengthen itself. In just a short moment, over half of Shangguan Feichen's wave of ink had been burned away. The fireball was twice as large as before. What is this? Shangguan Feichen's eyes filled with fear. The fireball underwent a strange change. It instantly shrank and 4 limbs came out, turning into a giant flaming demon. Its eyes released a red glow and its body was covered in blue and green flames. There was a pair of incomparably fierce demon horns on its head. This was not an illusion. Shangguan Feichen could clearly feel the demon's strength. It was not below his own. Chu Tian coldly ordered, "Kill him." "Yes, master." Netherworld's fist pierced through the wave of ink and landed on Shangguan Feichen. The abyss netherworld flame was released, swallowing Shangguan Feichen's body. Shangguan Feichen gave a pitiful cry as he was sent flying into the opposite hill. "What?" Chu Tian said with a taunting smile, "This is the strength of the Western Marquis successor?" Shangguan Feichen wanted to escape in a sorry state. The flaming demon turned into countless streams of flames, instantly blocking Shangguan Feichen's path. Its palm was raised high and instantly expanded several times, turning into a giant arm that covered the sky as it slammed down at Shangguan Feichen. An arrow flew through the air. It instantly pierced through the flaming demon's arm and a layer of ice energy covered the demon's body, causing Netherworld's movements to slow down. There was a group of cavalry coming from the distance. The one at the front was the Golden Arrow Marquis successor, Jiang Shan. The arrow just now was shot by him. Chu Tian narrowed his eyes in dissatisfaction. "Brother Jiang, you're meddling in other people's business." "Brother Chu, you can't kill him." Jiang Shan seemed like he had just gone through a bitter battle and was covered in injuries. Of the 1,000 cavalry, only 200-300 were left. "If you kill him, have you considered the Western Marquis revenge?" Chu Tian shrugged his shoulders. "I never wanted to kill him, I just wanted to cripple him." Jiang Shan was speechless. Wasn't this the same? Jiang Shan quickly tried to persuade him, "Give me some face. He is already heavily injured, so forget it." "All right then." Chu Tian looked at the half-dead Shangguan Feichen and said with a sigh, "I'll give you some face." Chapter 225. After several hours of chaos, Thunder State City's citizens lined up in a long line, dragging their wives and children as they fled. But with how large Thunder State City was, it was impossible for everyone to escape. The citizens that were leaving were mainly cultivators or merchants. If they didn't have money, then they had strength. Even if they left Thunder State City, they wouldn't be afraid of not having food to eat. Most of the low and middle class people had not left yet. Their ancestors had lived in Thunder State City, so how would they survive if they left? If they left Thunder State City, they would become rootless duckweed. If they left Thunder State City, their lives would be hard to continue. If they left Thunder State City, they would be homeless. Who would be willing to give up their stable life and embark on a dangerous and unknown journey? 300 years ago, Thunder State City was not inferior to Central State City. Just a few days ago, it was still bustling with people. A few days ago, it was still bustling with activity, not inferior to any other main city. How could such a great city suddenly fall into such a desolate state? But the outbreak of the disaster was just that sudden. The heavens blessed Thunder State. The heavens blessed Thunder State. Countless white-haired old men and children were kneeling on the streets, praying for Thunder State City. Even if they knew the chances were slim, they still hoped for a miracle. The Golden Arrow Marquis sat in the mayor's palace. Facing the prayers and cries of the entire city, he felt a deep sense of guilt. Thunder State had fallen into the abyss and could not be saved. They truly deserved to be the protectors of Thunder State. The calm martial ruler had underestimated the severity of the situation, but it was already too late. Even if the 3 rulers personally made a move, it would be too late. After all, the Abyss Demon was still growing stronger. Was Thunder State City really going to be destroyed? "Marquis!" A fully armored general walked in and gave a loud shout. The 3 Thunder State defense camps have been gathered. "We are willing to fight to the death. Please give your orders." The Golden Arrow Marquis was a little surprised. The camp hasn't collapsed? Thunder State's military spirit, the head of the 8 states. This general loudly shouted, "In the face of a disaster, we soldiers should face it with our own bodies. How could we run away?" This is what the Marquis has always taught me. We are willing to defend Thunder State City to the death, living and dying with Thunder State City. As long as the city stands, we will live. If the city falls, we will die. Good. The Golden Arrow Marquis gave a sigh. For me, Jiang Xiong, to have this kind of army, my years in Thunder State have not been in vain. This Marquis will defend Liezhou City with you and wait for reinforcements from Royal City. The Golden Arrow Marquis made his decision. Liezhou City could not be lost. If the abyssal demons were to attack Liezhou City, then they would have no choice but to sacrifice themselves. The Western Marquis and Shen Fengho walked in with ugly expressions on their faces. There are cavalry coming back, but Shangguan Feichen, Jiang Shan, and Chu Tian have not been found. The Golden Arrow Marquis' heart sank. He had yet to return. Could it be that something bad had happened to him? The Western Marquis Shangguan Hong said, Golden Arrow Marquis, I want you to send all of Thunder State's soldiers to search the disaster area. You have to find that person for me. Search? How to search? White Jade City is surrounded by demon soldiers. Once the foot soldiers are trapped, it is equivalent to sending them to their deaths. That demon has also awakened, and even the most elite storm cavalry can't get close because their mounts can't withstand the demon's pressure at all. As for the rest, I'm afraid they won't be able to get close beyond 100 miles. The Western Marquis was enraged. Golden Arrow Marquis, you're burning the bridge after crossing the river. We came to save Thunder State and now my son's life and death are unknown, so what are you doing? Are you worthy of us traveling tens of thousands of miles to save him? Please pay attention to your words. Could it be that the Western Marquis successor is a life, but the lives of the soldiers are not? The lives of normal soldiers are cheap. So what if they die? At worst, Southern State will compensate you. Thunder State's army is protecting the millions of citizens in the city, not sacrificing their lives for a single successor. You have to understand that this Marquis successor is also missing. The Golden Arrow Marquis was already very sullen and Shangguan Hong was filled with rage. The two marquises were about to erupt into conflict. Shen Fengho gave a sigh and prepared to mediate. There's good news. A guard quickly ran in. Marquis, the successors have returned. How many have returned? Shen Fengho quickly asked. What about the others? Shen Fengho, you don't need to worry. The Central State geniuses have returned. They are all fine. The three marquises let out a sigh of relief when they heard this. Chu Tian and Jiang Shan rode into Thunder State City. Of the 3,000 cavalrymen that left the city, only 500 had returned. The rest of the cavalrymen were probably already dead. Meng Yingying excitedly ran over. Chudun, I knew you would be fine. Chu Tian revealed a faint smile to Meng Yingying. I'm sorry, I've made you worry. Che, I'm not worried about you at all. Meng Yingying shook her head. The thing that can counter you in this world hasn't been born yet. What does a trivial demon count for? This girl was truly heartless. But the one that understood Chu Tian the most was Meng Yingying. At this time, the three marquises quickly ran over. Feichen, what happened to you? The Western Marquis successor was covered in injuries. He was tied to a horse and was on his last breath. Father, take revenge for me. Shangguan Feichen opened his eyes and saw his father. His handsome face had turned black and his skin was burnt. He immediately shouted out, that bastard Chu Tian wanted to be a deserter. I only chased after him to punish him, but I was ambushed by him. Daring to harm my son, I'll have you pay with your life. The Western Marquis killing intent exploded out like a tsunami. A long pen was about to stab at Chu Tian. Shen Fengho quickly blocked it and grabbed the Western Marquis long pen. The surrounding spectators were all stunned. The safe return of these people should have been a happy matter. But the Western Marquis wanted to personally take Chu Tian's life at this time? Feng Yuntian, you dare block me? Shangguan Hong's eyes turned red as he roared. This Marquis successor, his precious body has actually been heavily injured. Even you can't protect him today. That's right. Shangguan Hong had to kill Chu Tian no matter what. The Southern Summer 8 marquises' killing intent was so strong that everyone couldn't help shrinking their necks. Deserter? What a joke! Chu Tian laughed and said, "Are you talking about yourself? Running away when you meet an opponent you can't beat. Abandoning several thousand cavalry like this. What Southern Summer 8 Marquis? I'm ashamed for you." The Golden Arrow Marquis and Shen Fengho revealed looks of embarrassment. This brat's mouth was not polite at all. Sheng Wanhong's eyes turned red. "You dare quibble?" The situation had completely collapsed and the three marquises were running for their lives, so of course the others had tried to escape. Were they supposed to just stay here and wait to be killed? So saying that the Western Marquis successor was chasing after Chu Tian as a deserter was not a valid reason at all. Jiang Shan rode his horse forward and said, "Sir Western Marquis, I can prove that the successor made a move first." "I don't dare. Whoever made a move first and dared to harm this Marquis successor must die." Western Marquis, please calm your anger. The successor's injuries do not seem to be caused by Chu Tian's sword. The Golden Arrow Marquis was very dissatisfied with the Western Marquis' disregard for the lives of others. He asked Chu Tian with a serious expression, "What is going on here? What is going on? See for yourself." Chu Tian took out the large gourd and slapped it. The Hellfire Demon's body was thrown onto the street, instantly taking up half the street. Meng Yingying's mouth fell open in shock. What is this? The Hellfire had been destroyed, but the jade-like dark green shell, as well as the incomparably powerful abyssal aura wrapped around it, could not be replicated. The three marquises had fought with the Hellfire Demon before, so they could recognize it with a single glance. This was the body left behind by the Hellfire Demon. The three marquises were stunned. Shen Fengho revealed a look of wild joy. "This is the demon formed from the demon stone. You killed it." With these words, the surrounding citizens were all shocked. This was the main cause of the disaster in Thunder State? Chu Tian looked at the stone that countless people were waiting for and nodded. He loudly announced, "The Abyss Demon is dead. Thunder State's danger has been resolved." The scene was filled with a deathly silence. What the hell was going on? The demon that the three marquises could not defeat, how could it be mysteriously killed? This news was too sudden and too shocking, no one was able to react in time. "Are you all deaf?" Meng Yingying excitedly clenched her fists. Was this unexpected? Not at all, she had guessed it. Chu Tian had never disappointed her before. Even if it was something the three marquises could not deal with, as long as Chu Tian took action, he would definitely be able to deal with it. This was something without any suspense. But she was still very happy. Meng Yingying shouted for Chu Tian to everyone. "The evil demon has been killed by Central State Chu Tian. From now on, Thunder State is safe. You are all safe. Everyone can go home." After saying this, Meng Yingying's eyes became slightly moist and her voice became a bit choked up. This was because personally seeing Thunder State City fall into chaos, the impact it had on her was too great. How many families were broken? How many people were hurt? Too many to count. Meng Yingying knew everyone's pain and helplessness. It was all good now. It was all good, there was no need to be afraid. The children could go home and everyone would no longer have to leave their homes. The citizens of Thunder State City were speechless for a long time. Wasn't this the miracle they had been praying for? When the miracle appeared in front of them, they did not dare believe it. Was this real or not? Was this real or not? The Golden Arrow Marquis looked at the dark green stone body of the Hellfire Demon in a daze. After being silent for a while, he walked in front of Chu Tian and bowed down to him in a very serious manner. "You are Thunder State's benefactor. This Marquis represents the tens of millions of people in Thunder State in thanking you." Everyone broke out in cheers. The Golden Arrow Marquis gave a definite answer. "Long live! Long live! Long live Chu Tian! Long live Thunder State! Central State's hero has saved my Thunder State." Countless citizens were sobbing silently. "Benefactor, you have saved my family. Please accept my bow." A tall and large man kneeled down in front of Chu Tian. With him taking the lead, the others all kneeled down. Over 1,000 people kneeled down in front of the Central State people. Nangong Yun, Yun Yao, Chen Bingyu, Feng Kaidai, and Yingying were all deeply moved when they saw this shocking scene. It really wasn't easy. When Chu Xinghe was at his peak, wherever he went, people would kneel down. However, people kneeled down because they feared his might, so they had no choice but to bow down. There had rarely been a scene like this in the southern summer 8 states where the entire city was kneeling down in gratitude. Their hearts were filled with excitement. It was hard to describe what they were feeling right now. There was joy, excitement, and even pride. If they followed their own growth path, they would never be able to do something like this in their entire lives. They had basked in Chu Tian's light and were honored to be able to participate. Being able to have such a glorious moment in their lives, what regrets did they have? Nangong Yun took this chance to shout. Chu Tian did not hesitate to take risks to help Thunder State, but there is a pair of evil father and son that wants to kill Chu Tian time and time again. What do you think we should do? Kill. Whoever dares to touch a single hair on benefactor's head will become enemies with the citizens of Thunder State. Everyone shouted out with righteous indignation. There was even a voice that roared out, Shangguan Hong scram from Thunder State. Scram from Thunder State. Scram from Thunder State. Countless people began to wildly shout out. Shangguan Hong was one of the southern summer 8 marquises. The 8 marquises were no different from gods in the eyes of the common people. This kind of scene had never happened in southern Xia before. The Golden Arrow Marquis directly said, I think this matter is very clear. Chu Tian wanted to kill the demon, but the Western Marquis' successor chased after him and was heavily injured. I think this matter was brought about by the Western Marquis' successor. Chu Tian not directly killing him is already giving the Western Marquis enough face. If the Western Marquis still wants to deal with Chu Tian, then he will have to pass through this Jiang first. In this situation, the Western Marquis almost broke his teeth from gritting them, but he had no other choice. He could not take the risk to kill Chu Tian and he could not stop the Golden Arrow Marquis and Shen Fengho, so he could only give up. With the cheers and praises of the countless citizens, the disaster of Thunder State had finally come to an end. Chapter 226. In the next few days, good news came one after another. After the Hellfire Demon was eliminated, the Abyss Demon soldiers became weaker. The Thunder State army was like a hot knife through butter, quickly eliminating them. Everyone completely believed it. This young man from Central State had miraculously killed the Hellfire Demon that even the 3 marquises could not kill. No one could explain how this happened, but Chu Tian had done it. Chu Tian was completely famous. This name quickly spread across Thunder State and he became the savior of Thunder State in the eyes of the tens of millions of people. Chu Tian's growth in Central State was also dug up, appearing in the newspapers of Thunder State and entering every household. He became the object of admiration for the people of Thunder State. Tens of millions of people recognized Chu Tian and because of this, they recognized miracle commerce. A monstrous genius had appeared in southern Xia. Chu Tian looked at the Golden Arrow Marquis and said, the danger of Thunder State has been solved, but the following problems have not been solved. The land that has been polluted by the Abyss aura will be hard to use for 100 years. The Golden Arrow Marquis gave a sigh. This is something that can't be helped. I have 2 solutions. It all depends on how the Golden Arrow Marquis uses it. You can clean up the polluted land? Then quickly tell me. The Golden Arrow Marquis' biggest headache was dealing with the aftermath. Thunder State City's polluted land could not be planted with crops or herbs, even survival was a problem. The demon beasts had been infected by the Abyss aura for a long time, so it was easy for them to mutate and become more aggressive. Who would have thought that Chu Tian would have a solution for this? Chu Tian had already prepared it on the way to Thunder State. He gave the Golden Arrow Marquis 2 scrolls that had detailed solutions written inside. The first is a purification plan that only requires a few common materials. Thunder State can purify the land and reduce the polluted area, saving a lot of fertile land. The second is not to clean up the polluted land. I've left behind a few special materials that can only be grown in soil that contains the Abyss aura. Because of this, they are very rare and precious. If we can use this in Thunder State, we can turn waste into treasure. This land that brought disaster to Thunder State will become a large source of income for Thunder State. Good, good, alright. The Golden Arrow Marquis excitedly bowed to Chu Tian again. Mr. is a peerless genius. Why don't you stay in Liuzhou? I am willing to let you be the lord of Liuzhou City. City lord. Moreover, it was a main city. What a big piece of meat. I appreciate the Marquis's intentions, but Chu Tian's ambitions do not lie here. Chu Tian rejected the Golden Arrow Marquis invitation to stay in Thunder State. My mission is complete, so I have to return to Central State. I ask the Marquises to quickly report back to Imperial City. It's Southern Xia's blessing to have such a genius in Zhongzhou. Men, go to the treasury and withdraw 200 million gold coins as a gift to Mr. Thunder Province is in a crisis and there are many things that need to be done. I hope that Mr. will not think it is too little. The Golden Arrow Marquis did not want to fall out with Shin Fengho. Since Chu Tian did not agree, he would not force it. He immediately called his vice-general to fetch the gold coins and then said, when I report back to Imperial City, I will ask for the martial ruler's credit. 200 million gold coins was a large amount of money. But in terms of contribution, this reward was a bit too little. But it could be understood. Thunder State's business was not very developed, and now that they had suddenly encountered a disaster, money was needed everywhere. Taking out 200 million to give to Chu Tian was already their limit. Shin Fengho, the Golden Arrow Marquis, and the Western Marquis all left Thunder State to report back to Imperial City. Before Shin Fengho left, he gave the Central State cavalry to Chu Tian and had Chu Tian bring the rest of the troops back to Central State. Chu Tian did not stay in Thunder State for long, directly heading to Central State on a boat. Sir Chu Tian, the giant shark gang's territory is right in front of us. Coming back this quickly, I don't know what those fellows are thinking. Come, let's go. Yun Yao said to Chu Tian, are you confident? Chu Tian was filled with confidence. There's no problem. When the warship slowly entered the windless area of the Four States Lake, it was immediately discovered by the giant shark gang. Not long after, a giant black tortoise slowly came over and there were two people standing on top of it. One was a rough man with a sloppy beard and the other was a tall and thin middle-aged man. These two were true Soul Realm experts. They were Old Fourth Yu and Old Fifth Yu. The giant shark gang's attitude changed 180 degrees. When the two of them saw the warship, they respectfully bowed. We have been waiting for you for a long time. How is it? Chu Tian crossed his arms as he stood on the deck. Has the gang leader thought it over? The gang leader has carefully considered it over the past few days and has decided to accept Mr. Chu Tian's suggestion. Old Fifth Yu's attitude was very humble and even had a trace of awe. He knew what Chu Tian had done in Thunder State and he knew the power of the person in front of him. We ask Mr. Chu Tian to enter the island with us. Chu Tian was not in a rush to agree. What about my soldiers? We ask the Central State soldiers to enter the island. Old Fourth Yu was very clear that the giant shark gang would have to follow this young man in the future, so his attitude changed. The giant shark gang has prepared a banquet for everyone. Everyone felt that this was unbelievable. When Old Fifth Yu was captured by Shin Fengho several days ago, his attitude was filled with arrogance. Who would have thought that there would be such a large change in this short period of time? That Old Fourth Yu was also incomparably arrogant, but now he was like a completely different person. Even with Shin Fengho's abilities, he would not have been able to make such a large change to the fierce pirates. This was all part of Chu Tian's plan and everything was going according to his plan. The giant shark gang occupying the Four States Lake was a scourge in the end. If they could turn bandits into citizens of Southern Summer and create value for Southern Summer, it would be a large merit. The gang leader is a smart person, then we'll just stay here for a bit. Chu Tian was not surprised at all. Let's set sail. Before we go home, we'll go to the giant shark gang and have a feast. Long live! Long live! The Central State soldiers all began to shout out. Central State had sent out 1,000 elite cavalrymen, but only 300 of them had survived. It could be seen how tragic the situation was at that time. After these people returned to Central State, they would definitely receive a lot of support, and a promotion and salary increase would be a sure thing. This was all thanks to Chu Tian. If it wasn't for Chu Tian killing the Hellfire Demon, not to mention returning to Central State alive. Even if they did, they would have returned in defeat. Returning in defeat was already good enough that they weren't punished, so how could they be rewarded? How could they not be grateful to Chu Tian? Under the escort of several giant turtles, the warship slowly entered the giant shark gang's archipelago. Several thousand giant shark gang members had already been waiting for a long time. When the Central State soldiers docked, all kinds of crabs, prawns, clams, and other delicacies were sent out, very enthusiastically rewarding the Central State soldiers. Over 1,000 giant shark gang elites were lined up in 2 neat rows. From the main entrance to the middle of the mountain, wherever Chu Tian went, the giant shark gang elites would bow down. This kind of grand formation was just a welcome. Ever since the giant shark gang was established, no outsider had ever received this kind of treatment. Chu Tian brought several core members and walked into the cave under the protection of countless giant shark gang elites. The 5 giant shark gang leaders spread out the banquet and the group was immediately led to seats of honor. The giant shark gang's leader, Boss Yu, personally stood up and raised a bowl of wine. In a hoarse voice, he said, "This bowl of wine is to the Central State soldiers. The victory in Thunder State this time is truly a great merit." The other giant shark gang leaders also raised their cups of wine. Their eyes were filled with respect, especially towards Chu Tian. Nangong Yun and the others were very surprised. How did these fellows know about what happened in Thunder State? In such a short period of time, the news shouldn't have spread yet. The giant shark gang's old Yu was a fatty. He stood up and cupped his hands as he said, "I won't hide it from everyone. Actually, after you left, the giant shark gang sent our brothers to investigate the situation, so we already know what happened in Thunder State." When the news was sent back to the giant shark gang, all the giant shark gang members were shocked. Central State's target was a terrifying foreign demon, but what was the most unbelievable was that even the 3 marquises working together could not defeat that demon. In the end, it was killed by Chu Tian in one fell swoop. There was no doubt about it. Chu Tian had done a great merit this time, so Imperial City would definitely reward him. Therefore, Chu Tian's career would soar. Adding in the fact that Chu Tian's method was effective, it could really break the curse that had plagued the giant shark gang for over 20 years, allowing the giant shark gang members to regain their freedom. The giant shark gang had secretly sent people to inquire about Miracle Commerce, and now they knew that Miracle Commerce was a large company that was rapidly developing, so working for this company was very promising. Boss Yu no longer hesitated. This was a good opportunity that would never come again, so he had to firmly grasp it. Chu Tian laughed, "You've made the right choice. In order to show Miracle Commerce's sincerity, I will also make a small gesture. Ying, call people to bring it up." After around 10 minutes, several large treasure chests were brought into the cave. Meng Ying waved her hand, "Open it." When the large treasure chests were opened, countless golden coins appeared in front of them. The giant shark gang members were all stunned. They had never seen this much money before. "This is 100 million gold coins." Chu Tian maintained his rich appearance. "I'll give it to the giant shark gang's brothers in advance. As long as the giant shark gang's brothers follow me, Chu Tian, there will be many opportunities to make money in the future." The giant shark gang high-level members revealed excited expressions. This young master really was a god of wealth. He actually gave out 100 million gold coins without blinking. To the 4 great families, this 100 million gold coins was not a small amount. To these pirates who lived by plundering, this was a windfall from the heavens. Not only did Chu Tian have the ability and talent, he was also this rich and heroic. The most important thing was that he could remove the giant shark gang's curse and restore the freedom of the 100,000 members of the giant shark gang. The giant shark gang could not think of any reason to reject him. Chapter 227. Boss Yu asked, "I want to know, after Miracle Commerce and the giant shark gang work together, how will we cooperate?" The giant shark gang recognized Miracle Commerce's abilities and decided to cooperate with Miracle Commerce, but as for what kind of cooperation they would use, the giant shark gang was still unclear about it. This was very important. They had to ask this clearly, otherwise how could they feel at ease? If Chu Tian sent the giant shark gang to the battlefield as cannon fodder, who would boss you find to reason with? Isn't the giant shark gang tired of eating fish and prawns for 20 years? Chu Tian did not directly answer the giant shark gang and just looked at the food being brought over. If it wasn't fish, it was prawns, and the wine was also very rare. You should change your tastes. How could they not be tired? The giant shark gang was in the center of the four states lake, and other than fish and prawns, they couldn't find anything else. Most of the time, even salt and oil were rare. Take out the rest of the canned food. Meng Yingying found several canned food and quickly gave it to the giant shark gang high-level members. The giant shark gang members curiously opened the canned food and were surprised to find that it was demon beast meat. Chu Tian said with a smile, "This is a special food of miracle commerce. Everyone should try it before asking this question." The 5 leaders saw that Chu Tian did not answer their questions and couldn't help feeling a bit anxious, but they did not dare reject Chu Tian. When the giant shark gang high-level members tasted the canned food, they were instantly filled with shock. The canned food's taste was indescribable, and it was made from demon beast meat and herbs. Not only could it fill one's stomach, it could also help a cultivator recover their strength. Eating it for a long time could even increase one's cultivation. This was a good thing. This was definitely a good thing. I think you should understand. Chu Tian slowly said, "Miracle Commerce is a company, and a company needs to make money. This Miracle Commerce canned food is just one of our specialties. I think everyone can see the market for this. We have the technology and productivity, but we lack the sales channels and caravans. The 4 states lake is connected to the 4 states, so with Miracle Commerce's ability and the giant shark gang's power, how could we not find a win-win cooperation?" Chu Tian gave everyone a peace of mind. If Miracle Commerce continues to invest in the giant shark gang, you will have the resources and money to expand. Chu Tian painted a beautiful picture for the giant shark gang. The current giant shark gang has enough manpower and strength. As long as we get rid of our current shackles, we can immediately create fleets and set up branches in various states, becoming a large mercenary and merchant gang. While the giant shark gang is growing, it will spread Miracle Commerce's influence everywhere. After Miracle Commerce earns more money, it will continue to invest in the giant shark gang. It's just that simple. The giant shark gang members excitedly clenched their fists. Who doesn't want to make it big? To them, the gang was their career. If they could obtain the financial support of Miracle Commerce, with the giant shark gang's strength and background, they would be able to create many branches, recruit new members, and increase their strength, becoming a true first-class gang in Southern Xia. Do you still have any doubts? No, we accept Miracle Commerce's cooperation plan. Boss, you did not hesitate. The only thing this old man is worried about is the curse on the giant shark gang. If we are bound by the curse, it will be hard for the giant shark gang to act. I don't know how long it will take for us to return to normal and officially cooperate with Miracle Commerce. No rush, no rush. Chu Tian already guessed that Boss Yu would mention this matter, so he stood up and said, "First bring me to the ruins to have a look." The Yu family's 5 brothers were a group of mercenaries and a small power. Because they obtained a treasure map, they finally found the treasure described on the map in the 4 states lake. This group of over 1,000 mercenaries was filled with excitement after obtaining the treasure, but who would have thought that they would be bound by a terrifying curse, making them stay in the 4 states lake forever, never being able to live on land. In the past 20 years, the 5 brothers had established the giant shark gang and began to expand, finally reaching the current 100,000 members. Although they had become a first-class power in the southern summer country, they did not dare be too high-profile and could only become a group of robbers. Chu Tian was very interested in the ruins, so he decided to personally take a look. Of course, Boss, you would not refuse, as he immediately brought Chu Tian into the ruins. This is the treasure in the ruins. This was a cave buried at the bottom of the lake. In the center, there was an ancient palace. When Chu Tian brought the others in, he saw that the floor, walls, and even the pillars were all made from a strange blue crystal. It was smooth and transparent, just like ice crystals. There are so many cultivation techniques on these walls. When the women walked in, they saw that the crystal-like walls of the sword Dao were filled with ancient characters, as well as many auxiliary diagrams. Clearly, they were ancient cultivation techniques. Boss Yu walked over with his fishbone cane. This is a cultivation technique left behind by the ancient sea race. Normal humans cannot cultivate it. As for us, although we can cultivate it, it is very hard to decipher these words. There are over 80 cultivation techniques in the ruins and we have only deciphered 8 of them, but it has already given us endless benefits. It was no wonder the giant shark gang could become a gang. These cultivation techniques were indeed not bad inheritances. Everyone had seen old Fifth Yu's battle strength, and he was much stronger than experts of the same level on the water. Chu Tian did not have a deep understanding of the sea race's cultivation techniques, but he could see that some of them were not bad. This isn't hard. Make a copy and bring it to Central State City. I'll find someone to decipher it for you. Boss Yu's heart shook. If they could decipher these cultivation techniques, the giant shark gang's strength would increase. The main hall was empty with nothing of value. Perhaps it had been emptied by the 5 brothers 10-20 years ago. In the center of the main hall, there was an incomparably tall Murloc altar that was releasing a mysterious power. With the altar as the center, there was a hexagonal ancient well surrounding it. When everyone walked next to the ancient well, they could clearly feel an ancient power being released, as well as a very rich energy aura. This is the source of the giant shark gang's power. Boss Yu pointed at the ancient well and said, after every sacrifice, the ancient well will release a strange spring water. The giant shark gang's abilities are obtained from drinking this strange spring water. Chu Tian walked to a well and observed it for a few minutes. Each well has the skeleton of a sea race expert sealed in it. This is a kind of burial for the sea race. The spring water that comes out of the well is actually formed from the sea race expert's bone marrow. Although it can quickly increase one's strength, it contains a curse power. If one is not a descendant of the sea race, they will be attacked by their bloodline. Bone marrow? Chu Tian thought of the ancient god's spine he had obtained from the trial tower, so he should be able to extract the divine marrow from it. The bone marrow of the sea race's ancient creatures could change one's bloodline, so would the divine marrow have the same effect? This thought flashed in his mind. Chu Tian felt like he needed to study it. I'll bring some back to study. Chu Tian extracted some of the blue spring water from the bottom of the lake and said to Boss Yu, "How long have you been using this power for?" "An entire 24 years. At this point, Boss Yu slowly took off his mask, revealing a sinister and terrifying face. That face was covered in delicate fish scales. Coupled with his pale white hair, he looked like a terrifying monster. Because of the powerful backlash, I know the pain of the curse. Meng Yingying, Nangong Yun, and the others all sucked in a cold breath. God, this fellow was simply a monster. Chu Tian said with a sigh, "It's too late. I can help you remove the curse, but it will be hard for you to return to your original appearance. Like this, I'm satisfied." What was there to be dissatisfied about? If it continued to worsen, he would die in half a year or even a year. I've already understood the situation. I didn't bring enough materials for this trip, so I can only help you remove the curse. I can't help the others for now. Chu Tian paused and said to Boss Yu, "Come with me to the Central State docks to sign the agreement. I will make a special potion for the spring water. At that time, you just need to pour the potion into the spring and the spring water will no longer have any side effects." Chu Tian had to be careful. He wanted to remove the giant shark gang's curse, but he also wanted to preserve the giant shark gang's sea race bloodline. This was because only the giant shark gang with the sea race's power was the true giant shark gang, allowing them to work for Chu Tian. Otherwise, without the inheritance, how would the giant shark gang form a gang? Mr. has saved the giant shark gang, so you are the giant shark gang's benefactor. Boss Yu was filled with excitement. Chu Tian had saved the giant shark gang and was thinking for them, so how could he have any objections? Chu Tian did not waste any words and immediately used the rest of the divine blood to remove the curse from the giant shark gang's high-level members. The 5 leaders of the giant shark gang were free and Chu Tian had given them a new lease of life. On the second day, the fleet set off again. In addition to the 5 warships in Central State, there were 4 more large ships. The 5 giant shark gang leaders and the main members of the giant shark gang, around 3,000 elites, were all heading to Central State. The giant shark gang's elites were very strong, with most of them being in the 8th or 9th body refinement layer. They also had a high percentage of awakened soul cultivators and were not weaker than the storm cavalry. Even in southern Xia, they were a very strong force, undefeatable in water battles. This was also the reason why Chu Tian valued the giant shark gang. This cooperation was a milestone for miracle commerce. With the giant shark gang's resources and influence, a fleet that covered southern Xia would be formed. Miracle commerce would build special docks and factories on all continents, using the waterways to spread their influence. The giant shark gang itself was very strong. As long as they could wash their name clean, they would immediately become a first-class sect. At least no one would dare provoke them on the water. If they could protect Miracle Commerce's waterways, it would become an important chip for Miracle Commerce. Other powers dare provoke me? Alright, if you have the guts, then don't use boats anymore. Anyways, all the rivers and lakes in southern Xia will be taken care of by me, Chu Tian. In the early morning, the fleet arrived in Central State. Long live! Meng Yingying stood on the deck and looked at the Central State docks in the distance. She raised her hands and excitedly shouted, "We're finally back! Central State is still the best." Although Meng Yingying had not fought on the front lines, she had seen the disaster in Thunder State. This made Meng Yingying very emotional. The world was not peaceful. Even if one lived a normal life, they would not be able to stop a disaster from falling from the sky. So, she had to become stronger. With enough influence and strength, she could protect herself and the people around her. Meng Yingying realized the importance of strength and influence. She swore that she would become stronger and make Miracle Commerce stronger. Chapter 228. The ships all docked. The giant shark gang elites did not have their curses removed, so they could only stay at the Central State docks. It was not convenient for them to disembark, so Chu Tian brought the 5 Yu family brothers into the city. The Central State Army's triumphant return naturally caused a stir in Central State. Although what happened in Thunder State had not reached Central State yet, with the return of these soldiers, the news would quickly spread. Chu Tian would be in the limelight again and his image would rise to another level. After all, what the 3 marquises could not do was done by Chu Tian. Saving the citizens of Thunder State was a great merit. The changes in Central State City were very large. The city's main streets were all equipped with electric lights and the public places were built with broadcasting towers. As long as one walked into the square or the busy commercial street, they would be able to hear beautiful music. All of this greatly enriched the lives of the Central State citizens. These were all changes brought by Miracle Commerce. Chu Tian was even more surprised that many Central State citizens had a strange black piece of equipment. It was around 1.5 feet long and weighed around 10 pounds. This piece of equipment released the sound of Miracle Commerce's broadcasting station. Is this a portable radio? This must be the young Miss masterpiece. The radios and phonographs Chu Tian made were large and heavy, so they couldn't be carried around. The young Miss, Meng Qingwu, had always wanted to improve them. Chu Tian had taken out a mechanical technique book from the trial tower and the young Miss had personally translated it for Tong Xiaoyu. Then she had studied with Tong Xiaoyu how to change the size of the equipment. They had only been there for a week and they had already made a finished product? This efficiency was not bad. The portable radio was 1/8 of the size of a normal radio. Although the signal reception was a bit weaker and the speaker was a bit weaker, it greatly increased the portability and made radios more popular. Chu Tian establishing a research institute was a very wise decision. He was only responsible for the core technology. As for testing and improving it, that was all for the research institute to do. This is Central State City? It's much more prosperous than 20 years ago. Boss Yu's 5 brothers stepped on the solid ground and walked on the streets of Central State City. The city gave them a strange feeling as if it was a lifetime ago and there was a feeling of tears filling their eyes. Over 20 years. An entire 20 years. How many 20 years did a person have? This was the first time he swaggered through the streets of Central State City. Now that everything was finally over, a brand new life was about to begin. The five of them stood in front of the small castle-like headquarters of Miracle Commerce. They were once again shocked by the wealth of Miracle Commerce. This kind of sturdy and imposing headquarters was not something a normal person could possess. A beautiful woman in white came out to welcome him. Eldest Miss, Eldest Miss. Chu Tian walked into the Miracle Commerce headquarters and immediately shouted without any embarrassment, "Long time no see, I really missed you to death? You seem to have gotten fatter." Meng Qingwu spat. "I'm busy with the Chamber of Commerce and the Research Institute. How could I have gained weight? Don't talk nonsense." "Really?" Chu Tian stared at Eldest Miss seriously, his eyes sweeping over her chest and buttocks. "You've really gained weight." Meng Yingying's little hand fiercely pinched Chu Tian and then she threw herself at the young miss. "Elder sister, Yingying also misses you. Is Thunder State still good? The people of Thunder State are too pitiful. I really don't know what to do when we meet this kind of disaster." "Silly girl, don't say such inauspicious words." Meng Qingwu knew that her little sister was shocked, but she was also confused. "Why did you come back so quickly?" "Hi, it wasn't a big matter. Sir Chu Tian, personally came out. How could it not be easy? How could Meng Qingwu not know this fellow's personality? Could the words he said be trusted? But it was good that it was solved, so there was no need to worry." When Meng Qingwu wanted to ask about the situation, she suddenly saw 5 people dressed strangely. "These 5 are... You're talking about them?" Chu Tian did not seem to care as he said, "They were brought from the countryside and haven't seen much of the world, but they have a lot of brothers under them. They are prepared to work for Miracle Commerce and the young miss." Boss Yu and the others revealed awkward expressions. What did he mean by brought from the countryside? Who was this girl? Wasn't Chu Tian the head of Miracle Commerce? Why did he keep calling her the young miss? It was truly strange. "What are you still staring at?" Chu Tian pointed at Meng Qingwu. "This great beauty is the vice chairman and the person in charge of Miracle Commerce. Whether the giant shark gang can do well in the future will depend on her support." Boss Yu and the others trembled as they quickly cupped their hands to Meng Qingwu. "Greetings, Vice Chairman." Chu Tian continued to say, "Not only is the young Miss chest big, she is also very smart. Following her will not be a bad thing. If you keep acting like this, I'm going to get angry." Meng Qingwu's cheeks turned hot. "Everyone, don't listen to his nonsense. This one is Meng Qingwu. I hope that Senior will take care of me." Chu Tian revealed an embarrassed smile. "Boss Yu, didn't I tell you to copy the cultivation technique? Take it out for the young miss to see, and you'll know that I'm not lying. The young miss is a cultured person." Boss Yu revealed a look of joy and gave Second Old Yu a look. Second Old Yu placed the shark skin bag on the ground and took out a thick scroll. He respectfully placed it in front of Meng Qingwu. "I asked the vice chairman to take a look. If you can decipher the contents, the giant shark gang will be filled with gratitude." Meng Qingwu could feel that these people were not normal. Not to mention that Chu Tian had personally brought them back to headquarters. How could they be ordinary people? She immediately opened the scroll and looked over it. She knit her brows and felt a slight pain in her head. The strange words suddenly became familiar and Meng Qingwu read it in the sea race's language. "Ah! You can really decipher it. The vice chairman is a true genius." The 5 brothers were filled with excitement. "Nonsense, don't you see that you're the vice chairman of Miracle Commerce?" Chu Tian waved his hand at the 5 of them. "Leave the cultivation technique here and I'll give it to you after deciphering it. You can leave first. Nangong, Yingying, bring them to see Miracle Commerce's invention, as well as take a look at the Yunsek's Research Center and Qilin Hall." Alright. Meng Yingying and Nangong Yun brought the 5 Yu family brothers away. The 5 brothers wanted to take a look around and personally see Miracle Commerce's abilities. After all, the giant shark gang would have to rely on Miracle Commerce for a long time, so they could take this chance to understand Miracle Commerce's potential and foundation. It would be good for their hearts to be prepared. Meng Qingwu rolled her eyes at him. "With your skills, you can even decipher this cultivation technique, but you're giving this favor to me. It seems like these people are very important." "Ha ha, young miss is too serious. I just find it troublesome. After Chu Tian said this, he suddenly stopped smiling. Has anything happened recently? Central State City is very calm and the three great families have not shown any signs of making a move. When Meng Qingwu said this, her black brows slightly knit, but the more it is like this, the more uneasy my heart is. This is a good chance, but the three great families are still so calm. This means that they already have other plans, perhaps they are preparing to make a big move. Other than that, I've found a few clues. What is it? The elites of the three great families are being called back. Although it is very secretive, it was still discovered by me. They are calling back their elites, perhaps they are preparing a storm. It's fine if they don't make a move this time, but once they do, it will be a life and death battle. The three great families did not have enough energy or patience to test Miracle Commerce's bottom line. They would definitely place their hopes on this last gamble. It's been hard on the young miss. Chu Tian revealed a faint smile and did not place it in his heart. They are secretly gathering their strength and we are also steadily becoming stronger. The speed at which we grow will far surpass their imagination. Not to mention anything else, just those 5 country bumpkins are enough to make the three great families suffer. It's best if they don't make a move, but if they do, we'll counterattack. Counterattack? Such big words. Miracle Commerce had developed to this point. Although it had become the 5th great power, it had the support of the Yun sect and Chu Tian's fame. It was even better than the three great families. But with the three great families working together, Miracle Commerce did not have the confidence to win. Chu Tian had just come back from Thunder State and he had this kind of big words. Those 5 strange people, they were not simple at all. Chu Tian then asked, how is Miracle Commerce's development? Meng Qingwu seemed to be very familiar with the situation of the company's development. Everything was going smoothly now. Miracle Commerce had developed 23-dimensional manufacturing factories and their current production had greatly increased. The South Sky City's production line was gradually being pushed to the side and they were only beginning to develop into a battery manufacturing base. Central State had become the company's main production base. Our products will have an explosive growth and the 10 canned food factories will be completed soon. We will be purchasing large amounts of demon beast meat and other ingredients and we will be opening 5 more large restaurants in the city. Meng Qingwu was very excited because the company's development was too fast. Central State City is gradually becoming Miracle Commerce's industrial base. The newly established Yun Sect research facility is performing very well and the pay-to-channel technology has already been completed. Meng Qingwu was also leading some new research. For example, the improvement of the radio and phonograph. Meng Qingwu invested 10 million gold coins and created a design department in the Yun sect. She hired several talented people with high salaries and made Tong Xiaoyu the head of the design department. The design department was not even completed yet. In just a few short days, the radio and phonograph had been successfully improved. Meng Qingwu was prepared to continue improving and combine the radio and phonograph into one. She had even thought of a name for the new product, the magnetic recording machine. She would make the radio and broadcast function appear on a portable device. Whether it was the radio or phonograph, the structure was not complicated. It mainly consisted of an outer shell, a magnetic sound stone, a source energy battery, and several source energy arrays. Because the structure was very simple, it was not hard to combine the two. Meng Qingwu believed that it would only take a few days to complete. Chu Tian nodded, not bad. There is only one thing that is not going well. Meng Qingwu knit her brows and said, even now, we still haven't bought all the materials needed to refine the sacred pill. What's going on? It must be the three great families obstructing us. They have more channels than us and we can't buy these materials on the market, so we can only shelve the sacred pill. These fellows clearly don't want me to improve. At this time, Yun Yao rushed in. Have you heard? Chu Tian's head was filled with confusion. Heard what? Yun Yao said with a serious expression. The Chu family knows that you've returned to Central State City, so they have officially issued you a challenge. Tomorrow at noon. Meng Qingwu's beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of anger. Did the Chu family not care about their last bit of integrity? On one side, they announced that Chu Xinghe would challenge Chu Tian, giving Chu Tian time to break through. On the other side, they did something behind the scenes, not giving Chu Tian a chance to refine the sacred pill. Now that Chu Xinghe had recovered from his injuries and Chu Tian had returned to the city, while Shen Fenghe was not there, they directly issued a challenge to Chu Tian. What will come will come. Help me pass the message. Chu Tian had a serious expression. Chu Tian, accept the challenge. Chapter 229. The Chu family headquarters. 800 Chu family swordsmen were standing in an orderly manner in the courtyard. He was wearing a dark red light leather armor and a black cloak. His left hand was holding a sword, and his right knee was on one knee. He wore a tight black mask, revealing only a pair of eyes that shone brightly. This was a team that was as sharp as a knife. In front of the 800 silent swordsmen stood a middle-aged man. He was the head of the Chu family, Chu Shanhe. Chu Shanhe looked at the 800 swordsmen in the courtyard and couldn't help but sigh. The 800 most elite people of the family were the foundation of the family. They were scattered all over the country, secretly protecting the family's businesses. However, in just a week, they had all been urgently called back by the family head. The Chu family had not made such a big move in the past few decades. This was an important operation that concerned the prosperity of the Chu family. A hale and hearty old man with a sharp gaze walked out. On his back was a treasured sword that reeked of blood. It was the great elder of the Chu family, Chu Shi. Is everyone here? Chu Shanhe cupped his hands towards Chu Shi. Miracle Commerce's Meng Qingwu's methods are not simple. It took a lot of effort to hide from her eyes, but now everyone is here. Chu Shi didn't care about Meng Qingwu. This woman has some ability in running the company, but that's all she can do. The stronger Chu Tian is, the stronger she is, and the stronger Miracle Commerce is. However, once we get rid of Chu Tian, Miracle Commerce won't be a problem and she won't be a threat anymore. 800 Chu family elites had gathered to take drastic measures. Chu Shanhe frowned and said, "Are we really going to choose this time to have a decisive battle with Miracle Commerce? The current Miracle Commerce isn't the same as before. Not only is its influence spreading quickly, but it also has the support of the people in the city. Because of this, we should make a move earlier. Miracle Commerce will become a power that we can't fight against sooner or later. We can't wait for that day to come. Therefore, we should take advantage of this chance to swallow up Miracle Commerce in one fell swoop. The family will once again grow stronger, otherwise we will completely sink. This is a life and death battle for the rise and fall of the Chu family." Chu Shanhe's expression turned solemn. Chu Shi's expression became more and more serious. Now is the best time. First, Shen Fenghe would have to report to Wangqing, and Chu Tian would have one less powerful backer. Secondly, according to the urgent report from Thunder State, Chu Tian has made a great contribution in Thunder State. His reputation will definitely rise again. At that time, it will be even more difficult to make a move against him. We need to take advantage of this matter before it spreads. What? Did he do something great in Thunder Province? Chu Shanhe was a bit stunned, but then he said with a bit of hesitation, like this, the calm martial ruler might reward Chu Tian. If we make a move against him now, wouldn't we offend the calm martial ruler? Even if he offended Shen Fenghe, he could not offend the calm martial ruler. The three monarchs were not people that local clans could contend against. Chu Shi shook his head. You don't need to worry about this. The reward has not been given yet and I've been a retainer of the Dongfang family. As long as we bribe a few people from the Dongfang family, they will speak up for us in Wangqing. Not to mention that Chu Tian will die on the battlefield under Xinghe's sword. The calm martial ruler will definitely notice Xinghe's talent. With the calm martial ruler's personality, losing a Chu Tian is already unrecoverable. He will not lose another Chu Xinghe. Did this mean they still had to rely on Chu Xinghe to understand? At this time, a messenger from the Chu family quickly came to reporting to the family head and great elder, Miracle Commerce has officially responded. Chu Tian will accept the challenge tomorrow. Good. Too good. They had seen through Chu Tian's personality. This person truly had talent and potential, but he was too arrogant. Chu Tian straightforwardly accepted the challenge, so things naturally became much easier. Because the three great families had sealed off the materials, Chu Tian did not have enough money to buy the materials, so he could not refine a Saint Pill. If he did not have the help of the Saint Pill, he could not break through to the illustrious Soul Realm in this short period of time. If he fought with his Void Soul Realm strength, Chu Tian would not have any chance of winning. Chu Shi said, "Tell this news to Xinghe and take a look at his current situation." "No need to trouble yourself, I already know." A cold voice came from the back courtyard. Following this, a power erupted like a volcano, suddenly coming from the room. Several hundred flying swords flew into the sky, shattering the roof. Just like a peacock spreading its tail, it suddenly bloomed. Countless swords interweaved together, forming the shape of a lotus. A young man filled with an unparalleled aura and sharpness was currently standing in the center of this lotus. A golden flood dragon surrounded him, releasing a strong might that illuminated the entire Chu family. Chu Xinghe. The Chu family members revealed looks of wild joy. Chu Xinghe had finally come out of seclusion. Chu Xinghe had completely recovered and his aura became even sharper. The Chu family members were filled with excitement. That unparalleled heavenly sword young master had returned. Chu Shanhe and Chu Shi revealed looks of satisfaction. Not only had Chu Xinghe recovered from his injuries, he had also become even stronger. His cultivation had broken through the peak 4th awakened soul layer and reached the 5th awakened soul layer. Not only that, Chu Xinghe's Imperial Flood Dragon transformation art had also reached the perfection realm. The current Chu Xinghe was several times stronger than when he was in the trial tower. There was no doubt. If Chu Xinghe used his full strength, he would not be weaker than his father Chu Shanhe. Chu Xinghe was young, but he already had the qualifications to compete with the older generation in the true soul realm. After breaking, he would be reborn from the flames. Chu Xinghe had become even stronger. Chu Shi broke out in laughter. "Xing, he is already this strong, the day of him becoming a marquis is just around the corner. First we'll kill that brat Chu Tian and step on his corpse to reach a higher position." Chu Xinghe slowly descended. Chu Xinghe was very clear on Chu Tian's strength. Even if this fellow was a monstrous talent, he could not have improved that much in such a short period of time. Even if Chu Xinghe had stagnated for many days, he would not lose to Chu Tian. Not to mention that Chu Xinghe was not the same as before. The current Chu Xinghe, not to mention Central State, even if it was the younger generation geniuses of the 8 states, how many of them could catch his eye? Chu Xinghe was not even 30 years old yet. Even the Southern Summer 8 marquises did not have Chu Xinghe's strength when they were at this age. If Chu Xinghe was born in a marquis family, he could directly inherit the marquis position. If Chu Xinghe was born in one of the 3 great families, he would only need to gain merits on the battlefield for 2 years and he could directly become a marquis before he was 30. The Central State Chu family was not considered strong in southern Xia, so it was not easy for them to become a marquis. However, with a genius like Chu Xinghe appearing, becoming a marquis family was only a matter of time. Miracle Commerce does not know about Xinghe's breakthrough, so this matter must be kept a secret. Chu Shi said this and then added, "In order to be safe, I want to see my 2 old enemies." Chu Shi left the Chu family. The old enemies Chu Shi mentioned were not others, they were the 2 great elders of the Luo family and the Ye family. These 2 elders had returned to Central State City 3 days ago, but the news had been blocked, so the people of Central State City did not know about it. Even the middle and lower class members of the 2 families did not know about it. Chu Shi and the 2 of them met in a secret location. The Ye family's great elder's name was Ghost Eye Wolf. His appearance was that of an old and thin man with a black eye patch covering one eye. He held a long iron staff in his hand. Although his appearance was not very eye-catching, and he was even a blind cripple, he was actually a legendary figure in the mercenary world. The Luo family's great elder, giant spirit lion Luo Wanxiang. Perhaps because of the influence of his family's cultivation technique, Luo Wanxiang was just like the other members of the Luo family. His body was very strong and his face was full of muscles. Although he was old, he was still strong and his hair was not completely white. His arms were long and strong and his palms were thick and large, covered in black hair. Even if it was steel, he would still be able to crush it. Chu Shi looked at his two old enemies and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. I never thought that there would be a day when us three old fellows would join hands. Yi said in a hoarse voice, the changes of the world are not fixed, it all depends on benefits. If there are benefits, we gather, and if there are no benefits, we scatter. What else can I say? Because one's cultivation base was deep, they could slow down their aging to a certain degree. However, these three old fellows were already over 80 years old and had spent half their lives fighting for benefits. They had already become old foxes with deep schemes that were hard to measure. That's right. This time we have split the Yun family and miracle commerce. This is the time for our family to soar. Chu Shi did not waste words. Are you prepared? Luo Wanxiang said in a confident voice. 500 elites of the Luo family and 3,000 law enforcers from the supervisor's palace will ambush the Miracle Commerce headquarters. Once we receive news from the arena, we will immediately attack Miracle Commerce and destroy their foundation. The Ye family's wolf cavalry will ambush the camp outside of Central State City. Once Xiong Wuji attempts to rescue them, the Ye family will be responsible for stopping this force. Yi gently tapped his iron staff and softly said, 500 blood wolf mercenaries will ambush the Yun family. Once the plan begins, we will immediately attack the Yun family and this old man will personally kill Yun Tianhe. Good. Chu Shi slapped the table and stood up. The Chu family's 800 death-sworn swordsmen will infiltrate the arena. If there are any unexpected changes, we will first kill Chu Tian and decide the overall situation. Then it's decided. What about the mayor? No need to worry, the mayor will not stop us. Rather, he will secretly help us. As long as we get rid of the thorn in our side like Chu Tian, the result will be good for everyone. The three old men's eyes met and they finally reached an agreement. After a hurricane, only the grass would remain. Now was the time to counterattack. The three families had tolerated Chu Tian for several weeks. Now that the time had come, they would use a thunderous method to eliminate this power that should not have appeared. Along with the Yun family that did not know what was good for them, they would completely eliminate them from the central state map. Everything. There would be results tomorrow. The three great remote elders and the three families would all come out. Central State would welcome a storm of blood. When the dust settled, a new order would be established. The last man standing would be the king. Chapter 230. Waves rose in Central State City once again. The news of Chu Tian's battle with Chu Xinghe was like a storm that swept through Central State City overnight. Chu Tian's mind was not distracted and he immediately went into closed-door cultivation. Because if he fought with a peak triple awakened soul, he would die without a doubt if he didn't win. The Chu family understood this point, so they shamelessly issued a challenge. But Chu Tian understood this point, so he couldn't blindly throw away his life. He had to at least reach the illustrious soul realm. The three great families thought that they could stop Chu Tian from breaking through by sealing off the materials, but they were too naive. They never would have thought that Chu Tian would have a fortuitous encounter in Thunder State. When Chu Tian released his thick spiritual energy, he broke through the bottleneck without any suspense. The energy extracted from the Hellfire Demon's Abyss Fire Seed allowed Chu Tian to easily break through to the fourth awakened soul layer. Chu Tian went from the early awakened soul realm to the intermediate awakened soul realm. This was a qualitative leap. Not only was his spirit energy several times thicker, all his other aspects had increased. Was the strength of the illustrious soul realm enough? Of course it wasn't. The Chu family had placed all their hopes on this battle, so they would do their best to support him. Chu Xinghe's recovery speed was much faster than expected. It could be seen from this point that the Chu family had used some amazing medicine. So according to Chu Tian's guess, Chu Xinghe had already reached the fifth awakened soul layer. A normal fifth awakened soul layer cultivator would not be placed in Chu Tian's eyes. Shengguan Feichen was a talented successor, so how could Chu Tian not easily deal with him? Only this Chu Xinghe could not be careless. Chu Xinghe was the head of the Central State Four Young Masters, but he was far ahead of the other three young masters. His innate talent and abilities were very strong, and his man and sword as one attack had left a deep impression on Chu Tian. Even a sixth awakened soul layer expert would find it hard to block it. If Chu Xinghe really reached the fifth awakened soul layer, then Chu Tian's chances of winning with his current fourth awakened soul layer strength wouldn't exceed 30%. He couldn't take this risk. If he didn't fight, then he would have to have at least a 50% chance of winning. Chu Tian was not a reckless person. Since he dared to accept the challenge, it meant that he was confident. But where did his confidence come from? The first was the main source spirit. Chu Tian had always been very cautious in using the power of his main source spirit. On one hand, he was limited by his current strength and it would be hard for him to control it, but the most important reason was that once his source spirit was revealed, it would cause a stir. It would be bad if he was targeted by some old monster on the continent. Therefore, unless he was really forced into a corner, Chu Tian would not easily take risks before he truly grew up. The second was his methods. Chu Xinghe was perhaps a genius. But Chu Tian's superiority was something that he could never hope to match. Before Chu Tian had transmigrated, he had once stood among the peak experts. Chu Tian's experience, Chu Tian's knowledge, and Chu Tian's methods were things that no one in this era could compare to. A pile of crystal-clear fragments was poured out of the gourd. Each fragment contained an incomparably strong abyss demon energy. This was the demon's heart left behind by the Hellfire demon. Chu Tian stared at these fragments and slowly closed his eyes. A deep and powerful cultivation technique appeared in his mind, Demon God 9 Transformations. This was the cultivation technique that Chu Tian cultivated in his previous life. Because the conditions were not ripe, he couldn't immediately cultivate it. But this did not prevent him from changing the cultivation technique he was currently cultivating. This demon's heart would become a key material. This was also the main reason why Chu Tian went to Thunder State. While Chu Tian was in closed-door cultivation, Meng Qingwu began to receive some disturbing news. There were more and more signs that the three great families would launch a storm of attacks against miracle commerce. This duel was the last chance for the Chu, Luo, and Yi families to turn the tables. Although killing Chu Tian in the duel was the best result because of the Southern Xia's martial traditions, life and death in the duel were up to the heavens. Even if one was killed, it would be voluntary. From Shen Fengho to the calm martial ruler, they could not use this as a reason to punish the Chu family. But with Meng Qingwu's understanding of the three families, she knew that they would not place all their bets on one place. Outside the arena, there would definitely be a backup plan. Meng Qingwu immediately made a decision. Yun Yao, go back to the Yun family and stay with old Yun. Have the family gather the elites and move the important resources and assets. Prepare for battle. But tomorrow's battle with Chu Tian. Don't come to watch the battle tomorrow. Yun Yao knit her brows. Is that all right? If the three families make a move, the Yun family will be the first to bear the brunt. Meng Qingwu's attitude was very firm. Remember, you have to prepare for a storm of blood, you have to protect your own safety. Yun Yao was very respectful towards Meng Qingwu. This woman relied on Chu Tian to reach her current position, but miracle commerce could not leak a single drop under her management. This was enough to show Meng Qingwu's skills. Meng Qingwu gave another order, write 2 letters. One is for Kai Dai, telling her to stay in the Carefree Valley tomorrow and not return to Central State City. The other is for the great General Xiong Wuji, telling him to stay in the camp and deal with any emergencies. Have Lin Mu, Fong Han, and the underworld mercenaries return to the headquarters. Have Chen Bingyu take charge of the defenses. Her elder sister was unprecedentedly serious. Meng Yingying realized the severity of the situation. What can I do to help? Yingying, stay in the underground safe room tonight. Without my orders, you're not allowed to come out. Do you understand? This? There's no room for discussion. Meng Qingwu looked at the eager Nangong Yun. Nangong, I know you're not weak, so I'll leave Yingying's safety to you. With Nangong Yun's temper, if she was told to take refuge, wouldn't she jump up? Meng Qingwu used the name of protecting Meng Yingying to have her obediently stay here and not run around. Nangong Yun had a bitter expression, but she couldn't go against Meng Qingwu's words, so she could only helplessly agree. Meng Qingwu made a series of arrangements, for example reminding the families to be careful and not to watch the battle. Even if the worst situation happened, at least they would have a precaution. The next day, the citizens did not realize the storm that was coming, they only knew that there was going to be an incomparable battle in Central State. These two people were both super geniuses that only appeared once in 100 years in Central State City. There would only be one crown, so who would it fall on? How could they not watch this battle? The Central State stage was once again filled with people. The number of people watching this battle far surpassed the battle against Luo Xianglong and Yi Tiling. The citizens felt this was very strange. Where did the live broadcast of Miracle Commerce go? This was a very interesting and exciting program, so why didn't the battle continue? Meng Qingwu stood under the stage. When her eyes swept across the audience, she slightly knit her brows. She had clearly warned the families, but they did not take it seriously at all and still came to watch. Vice Chairman, you can be assured that we brothers will ensure the chairman's safety. Looking around Meng Qingwu, a hoarse voice sounded in her ears. Boss Yu was dressed tightly, wearing an old and worn mask and holding a long bone cane in his hand. His white and sparse hair flowed down his hood to his chest, and that skinny and stooped body was not conspicuous in the crowd at all. Can your four brothers protect Chu Tian? Meng Qingwu was a bit worried about the strength of the 5 Yu brothers. There was no doubt that Boss Yu was the strongest. I have the 18 divine blood in corpses and my defense is not bad. Normal people will find it hard to approach me. You don't need to worry about my safety, just go protect Chu Tian. Boss Yu said in a hoarse voice, I can't, the chairman has ordered me to protect you. Meng Qingwu gave a slight sigh and could only nod her head. Meng Qingwu did not show any signs of abnormality. She pretended to be calm and composed. Her eyes stared intently at the huge martial arts arena because the curtains were about to open. Dong 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 dong. The bronze bell on the stage was rung. Everyone stood up and cheered. The battle of the strongest kings, the life and death battle between two mortal enemies, was about to begin. A golden sword, like a meteor, suddenly fell from the sky and pierced into the arena. Then, a figure landed lightly from the sky. His feet landed firmly on the hilt of the sword. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared coldly at the other side. This youth was around 24 or 25 years old. He wore a white jade crown and a blue jade robe. His face was resolute and his eyes were cold. With a cloak fluttering in the wind, he had a dignified appearance and an ethereal temperament, just like a sword immortal descending to the world. Chu Xinghe! Chu Xinghe! Chu Xinghe! Waves of cheers came from all directions. Although Chu Xinghe had suffered a setback in the trial tower, Chu Xinghe's popularity in Central State City was something that even the famous Chu Tian could not compare to. Chu Xinghe had been famous for many years. Chu Tian's rise had only lasted for a month or two. Although Chu Tian had won the support and worship of countless citizens, in terms of foundation and fame, there was still a gap between him and Chu Xinghe. Chu Xinghe had never been defeated by anyone before. For Chu Xinghe to be able to easily challenge those stronger than him, this was a true heaven-sent genius. Chu Tian challenged Chu Xinghe with a lower cultivation base. Could he really create another miracle? The young man slowly walked onto the stage. Different from his usual low-key blue robe, he was wearing a gorgeous white robe. From head to toe, there was not a speck of dust on him. His beautiful eyes were handsome and his eyes were bright, giving off a kind of otherworldly feeling. His temperament did not lose to Chu Xinghe at all. If Chu Xinghe was a golden sword, then Chu Tian was a floating white cloud. Chu Tian carried a large gourd and a treasure sword on his back. A snow-white little fox was lying on his shoulder, taking a nap. It was not interested in the battle that was about to happen at all. Chu Tian! Chu Tian! Chu Tian! Fanatical cheers came from all around. Chu Tian's supporters were all young people. Chu Tian's legendary rise had already become the idol of countless young people. Ding! A particularly loud and clear bell was rung. Chapter 231. The match had officially begun. Shua. Chu Tian slowly pulled out the netherworld sword and said with a relaxed expression, "The heavenly sword young master's recovery speed is quite fast. In just a few short weeks, you've returned to your heroic state. It really is surprising." Chu Xinghe slowly opened his eyes and his deep and sharp eyes stared over. Kang Kang Kang. With a series of sword cries, the several dozen golden swords slowly opened up like a fan, instantly forming a cold barrier behind Chu Xinghe. "Your moves are still so beautiful." Chu Tian shook his head, "But it's just a golden exterior." Chu Xinghe disdained to argue with Chu Tian. Figured out. The golden sword that was stabbed into the ground flew back up. Grabbing it, the tip of the sword pointed out and a powerful energy surged out. His blue robe fluttered without any wind and the swords flew into the sky from his back, letting out an ear-piercing cry like the cry of tens of thousands of eagles. The bustling martial arts arena instantly fell into a deathly silence. The expressions on everyone's faces froze. They all had wide-open eyes as they swallowed their saliva, looking like they had seen a ghost. Chu Xinghe seemed to have turned into a general and the flying swords were his soldiers. As the dozens of swords soared into the sky, they suddenly multiplied. Almost in an instant, they turned into thousands of flying swords. The dense golden sea of swords was filled with a sharp sword aura. The sharp sword tips pointed downwards. Just the powerful air pressure alone was enough to cause fine cracks to appear on the ground. It had the aura of Pan Bo, who could crush mountains and rivers. 10,000 swords descend. Chu Xinghe's cold voice that was like that of a deity echoed out. The countless swords were like soldiers that had received an order as they all turned golden and fell down on Chu Tian like rain. The strong aura, the terrifying whistling sound, the unimaginable speed, and the aura that was like a storm made everyone hold their breath. Too fast, too strong. Just from this storm of attacks, everyone could tell that Chu Xinghe had broken through and was now in the fifth awakened soul layer. In the past, Chu Xinghe could defeat a triple awakened soul expert with his first awakened soul layer cultivation. But when Chu Xinghe was at the fourth awakened soul layer, he could easily defeat a fifth awakened soul layer cultivator and he could even fight against a sixth awakened soul layer cultivator. Now, Chu Xinghe had reached the fifth awakened soul layer. Of course, that was not all. Chu Xinghe's sword technique was more violent and sharp than before. Obviously, his cultivation technique had also improved by leaps and bounds. Chu Xinghe was almost invincible in the illustrious soul realm. Even the three family heads were not his match. Too powerful. He was too strong. Compared to Chu Xinghe, the other three young masters were like clay chickens and pottery dogs. The heart lamp was suddenly ignited. A wave of divine sense was released. Chu Xinghe could feel the boundless power of his divine sense, and a cold smile appeared on his face. What a fool, it was useless. The sword array had no blind spots, and no matter what he did, he couldn't dodge it. Being strangled by 10,000 swords was his only ending. How could Chu Tian not see this? This storm of sword array had reached a perfect level. With a high density of attacks, it covered any blind spots. Even with divine sense, he could not find a flaw to break through. Since there was no way to dodge, then he might as well not dodge. A jet-black ancient sword was released with a destructive might, causing Chu Tian's aura to increase by several times. The black ancient sword source spirit seemed to be connected to the wilderness. The moment the demon god sword appeared, the aura of the demon god appeared in the world. A wild energy that could destroy anything was released from his source spirit. The countless swords fell onto Chu Tian's body and were immediately affected by the wild energy. They shattered like glass and fell onto Chu Tian's body like rain. Even if one or two swords fell onto his body, they were shattered by the starlight. The people from the three great families revealed looks of shock. Illustrious soul realm, this was the strength of an illustrious soul realm expert. How did Chu Tian become this strong? This was impossible. Everyone could clearly see that Chu Tian had broken through to the fourth awakened soul layer and was a genuine illustrious soul realm cultivator. But even if he was an illustrious soul realm expert and his source spirit had been strengthened, it didn't make sense for him to be this strong. Using the sword chi from his source spirit sword to create a strong sword pressure, when those flying swords flew over, just this pressure was enough to crush the sword chi. Chu Tian calmly stood in the rain of swords. Chu Xinghe looked at him with an expressionless face. The wild storm continued, but whether it was the attacking side or the defending side, they did not seem to care. This attack that could even shatter steel, whether it was the attacker or the defender, it was completely insignificant. There was no doubt that the two of them were strong. This was strange. The Chu family could not understand this. How could Chu Tun break through this quickly? The three families had clearly blocked off the miracle commerce material channel. Chu Tian should not have had the chance to refine the Saint Pill. The power of his source spirit could block such a strong attack. Just how strong was Chu Tian's source spirit? The jet black sword source spirit was comparable to a god-level source spirit. It was enough to make the Chu family, a sword cultivator family, feel ashamed. This sword array is strong, but it is too scattered, so it is not strong enough. Chu Tian was surrounded by broken swords and fragments. If you want to kill me, then bring out your true skills. As you wish. Chu Xinghe was not surprised or angry. So what if he had broken through? If their cultivations were the same, perhaps they would have had the strength to fight. Chu Tian's cultivation was an entire level lower than Chu Xinghe's, so Chu Xinghe did not think he would lose. A golden flood dragon charged out from Chu Xinghe's body, and the broken swords on the ground seemed to be attracted by a magnet, floating in the air to reform. Moreover, with the vast power of his source spirit, it released a majestic dragon's roar, turning into 5-6-meter-long flood dragons. The golden flood dragons filled the sky, creating a magnificent scene that far surpassed the audience's imagination. Just the golden flood dragons released a dazzling golden light that made it hard for everyone to open their eyes. 360 Wandering Dragon Sword Array. With 360 golden flood dragons, could the demon god's swords might be stopped? These 360 golden dragons were like piranhas charging at their prey. Chu Tian's brows knit together and he suddenly raised the sword in his hand. He forcefully pointed it at the sky and the ground around him began to crack. Surging blue flames shot into the air and turned into hundreds of fireballs. Each fireball quickly took shape, turning into a demon with 2 horns and a body covered in flames. The hundreds of blue flame demons charged at the hundreds of golden flood dragons. These were the Netherworld clones. They were not strong individually, but they had the ability to self-destruct. The hundreds of blue flame demons and the hundreds of golden flood dragons continued to clash, colliding and exploding. Finally, the sky was filled with flames and golden flood dragon fragments. Chu Xinghe began to feel a little angry. How could this fellow have so many skills? He couldn't waste any time, he had to kill him with this slash. Man and sword as one. Chu Xinghe personally made a move and an incomparably sharp killing intent erupted. He raised his right hand high up and his finger released a giant sword chi that soared into the sky. Heaven-cutting art. Facing the heaven-splitting sword chi, the netherworld flame quickly gathered at the edge of the sword and infused the power of his source spirit into it. Chu Tian held the burning sword as he took a step forward and released an attack that was like a mountain. This was the third move of the netherworld flame sword art. It gave up on speed and evasion, but it released a destructive and explosive might, netherworld ghost slash. A deep blue sword chi and a golden sword chi, one horizontal and one horizontal, collided, causing the stage to continuously shatter. In the end, the golden sword chi won and the sharp energy slammed into Chu Tian's body. Chu Tian's starlight barrier shattered, but after being weakened by this attack, although this sword chi was very strong, it was not enough to kill Chu Tian. It could only cause some injuries to Chu Tian. Chu Tian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with a laugh, "Your unique skill doesn't seem to be very effective against me." While he was speaking, Chu Tian's starlight immortal body quickly recovered. Unique skill? You're wrong. A glow flashed in Chu Xinghe's eyes and the hundreds of flood dragons returned to Chu Xinghe's back. They quickly gathered together. I'll let you see my true unique skill.
What?
Amidst the violent roars, the 100 flood dragons fused together and turned into a giant flood dragon that was dozens of meters long. Every scale was extremely clear, and every scale seemed to be pieced together by the blade of a sword, emitting a sharp sword chi. A peerless beast aura covered the entire stage. Everyone felt a suffocating pressure. Whether it was the golden flood dragon's form or aura, it was completely the same as a real flood dragon. An even more shocking scene occurred. That giant flood dragon swam beside Chu Xinghe and suddenly opened its mouth, swallowing Chu Xinghe. In that instant, Chu Xinghe fused with the giant flood dragon. The human was the flood dragon and the flood dragon was the human. The two became one, no longer distinguishing one from the other.
What?
The giant flood dragon's strength skyrocketed, and its body grew to 100 meters long. With a casual sweep of its thick tail, a large part of the arena's ground caved in, and a huge ravine appeared in the center, as if it had been cut by a giant sword. Everyone held their breaths. What kind of magical power was this? This is truly incredible. Boss Yu's expression changed. This kind of strength is not something a person in the illustrious soul realm should have. This person's strength is no different from a true soul realm expert. Chu Tian faced Chu Xinghe, who had turned into a mighty golden flood dragon, and his eyes slowly turned serious. In the trial tower, man and sword as one was the highest realm that Chu Xinghe had reached, but now he could directly become one with the flood dragon. This flood dragon's body was made of solidified sword chi, so it was as hard as steel and impenetrable. Even if a normal illustrious soul realm cultivator used all their methods, they wouldn't be able to break the flood dragon's body, not to mention injuring Chu Xinghe inside. Chu Xinghe had turned into a flood dragon and his strength had increased by several times. This battle strength could not be compared to when he was in the trial tower. The golden dragon suddenly spat out a golden sword chi from its mouth. It slashed through the ground with an unstoppable force, instantly arriving in front of Chu Tian. The starlight on Chu Tian's body shattered, and he was sent flying to the edge of the stage. What's wrong? Have you already used up half of your spirit energy? Have you already used up all your moves? The golden flood dragon's 100-meter-long body circled in the air as its majestic and terrifying voice echoed through the world. As for me, this is just the beginning. Chapter 232. When Chu Xinghe transformed into a flood dragon and surpassed the illustrious soul realm, even if he faced the heads of the three great families, he would not be at a disadvantage and he might even be able to win. A casual sword chi from the golden flood dragon's mouth could pierce through Chu Tian's defenses. This was just a casual attack from Chu Xinghe. He did not use too much strength at all. The difference in strength between the two sides was very clear. Chu Xinghe not only had a higher cultivation base than Chu Tian, he also had a large advantage in terms of cultivation technique. The Chu family's soul sword secret art was known as the Chu family's strongest cultivation technique. Chu Xinghe's imperial dragon sword secret art was a cultivation technique left behind by an ancient sword cultivator. In terms of cultivation technique, it was not inferior to Chu Tian's netherworld flame sword secret art. Although Chu Tian had used his own knowledge and ability to continuously improve the netherworld flame sword secret art, it had surpassed the imperial dragon sword secret art. In terms of quality, he had only just reached the large success realm. Chu Xinghe's two sword arts had reached a godly level, reaching the highest realm. This gap was not something that could be easily crossed, even for a person like Chu Tian. Since you've exhausted your abilities, then you can die in peace. Chu Xinghe did not need to drag this on any longer. He used his full strength to end this fight and end this fellow that shouldn't have appeared, Chu Tian. The golden flood dragon roared. The golden scales on its body released a fierce sword chi that formed a storm of sword chi. The entire flood dragon seemed like it was made of thousands of swords, and no matter how strong the existence in front of it was, it would be instantly torn apart. You want to decide this in one move? Chu Tian faced the undefeatable Chu Xinghe. He suddenly raised the netherworld sword in his hand and released all his remaining spirit energy. The wildly burning netherworld ghost flames all gathered around Chu Tian. It didn't gather on the blade, but on Chu Tian's body. This scene stunned everyone. What was Chu Tian trying to do? Could it be that he wanted to light a fire and burn himself? Let me show you my self-created cultivation technique. Chu Tian turned into a flaming man, and a voice came from where the flames converged, flame demon transformation. Chu Tian's burning body continued to expand until he became a 10-meter-tall giant. This giant's entire body was made of flames, and it had a pair of sinister feet on its head. There was a pair of giant wings on its back, making it look like a terrifying demon. It emitted a cold and terrifying abyssal aura, and the blue flames that made up its body were condensed like crystals. The impact of this move was too strong. It was almost beyond the scope of people's understanding. How did Chu Tian do it? Actually, Chu Xinghe's flood dragon transformation was a higher realm of the man and sword as one. Chu Tian's flame demon transformation had the weapon spirit netherworld on his body, which was derived from the demon god 9 transformations. In a sense, it was the man and sword as one. This move was very dangerous because Chu Tian could not avoid being injured by the netherworld flame. So he had to use the demon's heart to balance it out. The demon's heart was the core of the Hellfire demon's will, so Chu Tian had repaired the demon's heart. When he transformed into the flame demon, he would use the demon's heart to protect himself. The netherworld sword's weapon spirit, netherworld, was influenced by Chu Tian's strength. The stronger the netherworld flame and the stronger Chu Tian's spirit energy were, the stronger the netherworld sword would be when it was summoned. When Chu Tian had summoned the netherworld sword with his triple awakened soul, it had a strength close to the 5th awakened soul layer and had defeated Shangguan Feichen with a surprise attack. Now that Chu Tian's strength had increased, the netherworld sword's strength had increased by another level. Chu Tian summoned the artifact Spirit Netherworld and used a secret technique to add power to his body, turning him into a giant flame demon that was over 10 meters tall. When the golden flood dragon spat out sword chi, roar, the flame demon roared into the sky. A burning black flame flowed out and condensed into a giant black sword in his hand. This sword was covered in demonic and divine chi, containing a destructive might that could destroy everything. The sword slashed out. The golden flood dragon's sword chi was shattered. Chu Xinghe was finally overwhelmed with shock. This was impossible. When the golden flood dragon was in a daze, the flame demon took a heaven-shaking step and held the black demon god sword in his hand. A river of energy surged into the giant sword and slashed at the golden flood dragon's body. That invulnerable body was cut into pieces and it was sent flying by the wild strength. It was like a snake being thrown by an eagle as it fell from the sky, creating a giant hole in the ground. The entire martial arts arena shook for a moment. When the flame demon was about to follow up with its sword, the golden flood dragon angrily swung its tail and a wild sword chi flew out. The flame demon quickly blocked it, but it was forced back several steps. Everyone was deeply shocked by the earth-shattering battle. One turned into a golden flood dragon and the other turned into a giant flame demon. This battle surpassed everyone's imaginations. It was a heaven-shaking battle between gods and demons. The two sides were only awakened soul cultivators. The golden flood dragon started to spin at high speed, looking like a massive golden drill as it brewed up a shocking storm of sword chi. The giant flame demon raised its burning black sword and with a heaven-splitting aura, it began to condense all its strength. Die! The golden flood dragon quickly turned into an incomparably large golden sword. The golden scales on its body came out and turned into giant flying swords that attacked the flame demon. The giant black sword swept out and all the flying swords were shattered. The flame demon once again raised its burning black sword and the black sword's strength was condensed to its peak. Chu Tian overdraft his body, overdraft his weapon spirit, and overdraft his source spirit, pouring all his strength into this next slash. Next was a slash that would decide life and death. Either he would lose or he would win, there was no third possibility. Chu Xinghe felt Chu Tian's life and death aura and he did not hesitate. In this kind of battle, any weakness could lead to a crushing defeat. Only the courageous would win. The golden Jiao dragon completely transformed into a huge golden sword. Tens of thousands of strands of sword chi gathered on the sword like rivers flowing into the sea. A sharp aura that could split the heavens and split the earth erupted as the huge golden sword slashed towards the flame demon. Heaven-cutting art. Man and sword as one? What was man and sword as one? Chu Xinghe completely turned into a sword. This was the true man and sword as one. Netherworld Ghost Slash. Chu Tian quickly slashed out with his sword. This was not just Chu Tian's peak strength and source spirit, it was also the peak strength of the weapon spirit Netherworld. After this slash, Netherworld would be weakened and he would fall into a deep sleep for a period of time. The two blade glows violently collided with each other. The ground of the entire martial arts arena suddenly shattered inch by inch, and the protective sister of the martial arts arena exploded on the spot. The terrifying energy turned into a storm and directly surged out in all directions. Some of the spectators who were closer to the martial arts arena were affected by this force and were sent flying into the air. Too strong. They were simply two monsters. Chu Shi saw this from afar and his brows tightly knit together. He had no time to determine who won and who lost, so he immediately gave an order, move. Immediately move. Kill Chu Tian. Kill everyone related to miracle commerce. The Chu family swordsmen hidden in the crowd immediately threw away their disguises and jumped out with their swords. In that instant, the crowd fell into chaos. Murder! Murder! The Chu family is murdering people. Chu Shi's order was very ruthless. Not only did he want to kill Miracle Commerce's people, he wanted to kill everyone related to Miracle Commerce. He wanted everyone to know who was the true master of Central State. Only a bloody warning could make people remember that the consequences of standing on the wrong side were very serious. The strength of the 800 elite swordsmen of the Chu family was enough to make people's blood run cold. A quarter of them were awakened soul cultivators and the weakest were experts at the peak 9th body refinement layer. Now they were divided into several teams that were attacking the arena. Anyone related to Miracle Commerce would be mercilessly slashed under their swords. Bastards! Meng Qingwu angrily clenched her fists. She never thought that the three great families would be this ruthless. This was clearly a grudge between the three great families and Miracle Commerce, but they were going to kill innocent people. They were truly treating lives like grass. Meng Qingwu saw many cooperating families fall under the swords of the Chu family. Although her heart was filled with anxiety, there was nothing she could do. Miracle Commerce's development time was too short. The only armed force they had was the underworld mercenary group and they hadn't been fully trained yet. It was hard for them to protect themselves now, so how could they fight against the Chu family that had experts like clouds? In this period of time, the entire arena was filled with cries of alarm and pitiful cries. No one would have thought that when they came to watch a match, they would be met with an unprecedented change in Central State. Countless people were filled with fear. There were immediately trampled and casualties, causing the entire arena to fall into chaos. Meng Qingwu, hand over your life. Meng Qingwu wanted to save her, but she suddenly felt a sharp aura lock onto her. She saw a giant sword appear above her head, containing a powerful might that could overturn mountains and rivers. Soul Sword Secret Art. Heaven-cutting art. Chu Shanhe released an incomparably large sword glow. This was the strongest move of the Chu family's sword art. He did not care about killing innocent people. Meng Qingwu was dead. Miracle Commerce had lost its leader. That was equal to cutting off Chu Tian's arm. Meng Qingwu's cultivation was not weak and she cultivated the Starlight Immortal Body, but what could she do? Chu Shanhe was the head of the Chu family. With him personally making a move, how could Meng Qingwu have a chance of surviving? Even if the 18 Divine Blood Yin corpses attacked at the same time, they would not be able to block a single slash from Chu Shanhe. Humph! A cold snort came from the crowd. An incomparably large silver shark suddenly jumped out from the crowd. It opened its mouth and shattered the sword glow. Chu Shanhe was shocked. This kind of powerful source spirit attack, It was a super expert in the true soul realm. Chen Bingyu and Yun Tianhe were not here. Could Miracle Commerce be hiding other true soul realm experts? But even if it was a true soul realm expert, Chu Shanhe had used the strongest attack of the Soul Sword's secret art in Central State, so how could it be easily destroyed by the power of his source spirit? What kind of god was this? After the silver shark shattered the sword glow, it charged into the sky and charged at Chu Shanhe. Scram! Chu Shanhe's giant sword swung out and slashed down at the giant shark. Under the fierce strength, the giant shark shattered and turned into a sky full of light. From the countless rays of light, a white-haired old man charged out. He condensed a ball of water in his left hand, and with a wave of his hand at Chu Shanhe, countless drops of water wildly shot out. Chu Shanhe did not have the strength to resist at all. His body was instantly pierced by several drops of water. Boss Yu's legs flew into the air and he summoned the giant shark source spirit to charge forward. It bit Chu Shanhe's body and tore him in half in the air. His blood essence was swallowed by the shark. Family head. The Chu family was stunned. A respected Chu family's family head. A family head in the prime of his life. He could have led the family for at least another 20-30 years, but he had died here without even knowing who killed him. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.